Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about tactical marines or Gabriel Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
Alright, I am recording, so we are able to get...
is horrifyingly bright pink.
I like
That
it.
is disgustingly bright pink.
I think it's
It's
magenta.
almost
right?
offensively bright pink. If that was a paint, that would be called titillating pink. And
That's
you would
magenta. It's
abbreviate
magenta.
it to
And it is a paint. I've got some, I'm sure.
It's Slanesh pink, dude. You've headlined the Grey Knights video with Slanesh
That's
pink.
Slanesh pink.
Oh, geez.
That's the same pink.
It's not. That's
Hello
magenta.
and welcome to Three Grots in a Vox, the bi-weekly podcast by three grown men talking bullshit about Warhammer. If you have any value in what we do, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. If you want to support us a little bit extra because you find what the shit we get up to on a bi-weekly basis funny, have a look at our Patreon. Just a few quid every month or so. It'll help us do more shit to amuse you with. And somebody's decided this week we're going to be covering Grey Knights. Who's decided we're going to be covering Grey Knights? Who was it? I can't remember.
Oh shit! Do you know what? You know this whole thing come about because John said that he would cover someone's list.
Yeah.
One of his
Yes.
channel members. I forgot to put it in the video.
Oh, you're a bad person.
I'm not even
I know.
joking. Until you said
I
that,
know I
I'd
said it on the
completely
video.
forgotten.
That's
I remember
brilliant.
the reason we were making it.
Excellent. So, the whole reason we're doing this for by
We'll
by
find it.
request
I'll find
of
it by
one
the
of
end
our
of the video and
audience,
we'll talk it over.
Tony has completely forgotten about, and therefore that's how much you.
To be fair, one of our Patreons asked for this as well.
Did they?
Yeah, he did. The same guy who asked for Black Templars.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, that's good.
You-
I'm
Chris, are you
actually
drinking
using
weird
his
bullshit this week?
codex at the moment. This isn't mine. This is one belongs to one of our Patreons.
Are you
And he
drinking
lent it
weird
to me.
bullshit this week to excuse yourself?
Oh shit! Where's my drink? I've got some stuff today. What have I got? I've got
Meanwhile, John's just sitting there looking amused.
Yeah, very much so.
some Buxton Brewery Lupus X
With
Mosaic.
through green screen colour, I assume.
No, it's that sort of bluish colour. Oh, is it?
It's
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, the text is because the text is green. I'm quite impressed that that's like the sensitivity on the green screen has picked even the text up on that.
Awesome.
So-
I'm not presenting this week, which I'm sure a lot of you will appreciate, considering I am the least popular member of the Three Grots.
You're not the least popular. Have
Voted.
you seen how many people watched my night video? Ranked 10 out of all videos we have ever done. The lowest ranked video we have ever made for views.
Okay.
The only thing it's doing better than is it's doing better than John's Star Wars video for likes.
All right. Meanwhile, this
Shots
evening
fired.
I've got some weird random pale ale I picked up off the shelf at Tesco's that I'm gonna.
I've had that. That's all right. That's for Sierra Nevada stuff.
Yeah, sitting in the fridge for the last couple of weeks, getting chilled.
Well, I'm drinking water because I drunk plenty last night when Scotland were eliminated from the World Cup.
And because
It's
you're
the
a
Jubilee,
responsible
John. You're
parent.
supposed to be celebrating.
Oh, fuck the Jubilee.
I tell you the most disappointing thing about last night, although Scotland got knocked out of the World Cup, the most disappointing thing was that they did last orders at like 10 to 11. So I was like, everybody in the pub was just starting to get a few, extra drinks.
Because nobody's
Yeah.
at work today.
And because Scotland has been knocked out, and then they were like, last orders, I was like, what? What? You didn't expect? Either way, the pub should have known to be open, because if we'd won, everybody would have been drinking more. Because we lost, everyone was drinking more. So, we had to go and
I have
find...
Quite
no
smooth.
idea what was
It's definitely
going
an
on
RPA.
that you were watching.
Oh, it's
I
Scotland
don't even know what
versus
sport you're
Ukraine.
watching. Yeah.
What were they playing? Were they playing table
Table tennis.
Yeah, table tennis, football.
Can I get on with my beer review now? Or are we talking about sport that nobody cares about?
Like Warhammer.
What, and people care about your beer review?
I bet a lot more people care about beer than football.
People who watched it last shit probably care more about
But anyway, yeah, it's very smooth. It's like a session IPA, really. It could do with a little bit more kick, but it's the sort of beer that you could probably drink 10 of these and not really notice.
What percent is it?
I don't know, 15? I don't know. No, it's not. 5.4, so it is quite strong, but it doesn't taste it. It's quite a smooth. I feel it could do with a little bit more punch, actually. It's almost verging on bland. It's definitely a session beer.
Why are session beers typically bland? There's a question for you.
Yeah, because if you're too strong, you only want one, don't you? That's why it's a session beer, because you can drink a few of them without... Whereas some of that weird stuff that Mark drinks, after the first one, you're thinking, shit, I'm never drinking that again.
This is like the second beer I've had in, I don't know, 5 years?
Okay.
10 years?
5 years,
I
10
still
years?
remember seeing you drinking mead.
Yeah, it's like interesting flavoured liquors for you. Yeah, there you go.
Well-
I wouldn't drink sake now because you got to drink sake warm, and there's no way I'm keeping.
I just don't like it. I don't like warm sake.
Last night was the first night I've been to the pub since before COVID. Can you believe that? So I said to my friend, I guess 2.5 years ago, when COVID was all kicking off, we always used to go for a beer on Friday night at like 5 o'clock after work. And we sent him a text 2.5 years ago saying, like, rain check. That's my daughter up. I'm going to be right back.
This is getting off to a flying start.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But he's left us on the cliffhanger. What happened 2.5 years ago after he said rain check?
Oh no, on a Friday. Yeah.
On a Friday. Was it actually raining? Did he go on the Saturday? Because lockdown happened on the Wednesday.
Oh Christ, I can't remember.
Sure, it was a Wednesday, was it?
Might have been a Tuesday for all I care.
I'll tell you what, let's get started on Pile of Glory early on. Do you want to see what I painted this week?
Yeah. Is that transparent? Oh, it is a little bit transparent. Yeah.
It's
Did you
transparent.
did you
I
tint
just
it?
tinted it blue, the same as I did for the Stormhawk.
Okay.
Storm Talon. That's what I did. That's
Excellent.
literally it. That started out as a clear piece of resin, and now it's
A
got
clear
a frame.
piece of resin.
Yeah, it's weird. It's clear resin they use from Forge World because it's the canopy from the Thunderhawk.
Yeah, I figured that's what it was.
Right, we're good.
Everything all right, John?
Yeah.
Thunderhawk's just sitting in black. Woo!
Is it a Death Company Thunderhawk?
It is at the moment, but it won't be. It's going to be red, which is the proper colour. And then I realised I can use this for Heresy.
Yes, you can.
So that'll mean when I've got the Heresy box set, which I'm definitely going to get, whoosh, I can have a giant Heresy army.
Is Heresy played on the same table size as 40k?
Old Heresy, as in the Heresy, those rules are about to become redundant, are played on the same size as
old 40K.
size 40k, so 6x4. New size Heresy, no fucker knows. Except
I hope it's just 6x4. To be honest, when we were making a table the other week, we just made it 6x4.
I was just wondering if there's actually a chance that Tony could actually deploy Thunderhawk in a board
And
or not.
actually get it on the table. But it must be on a big table because you've got like loads of Mastodons and all those super heavies.
True.
And that new Kratos tank that I quite like the look of.
Is that the same size as
I'm
the
not sure I
Falchion?
want to pay £75 for.
It's what halfway between a Sikaran and a Falchion size super heavy, as from what I can tell in the whole.
It's a little bit heavy.
Do you know what? £75 doesn't sound that bad for that, to be honest.
No, the Rhino at 28 was like, that's a fucking reasonable price for a
That's
Rhino.
cheaper than the standard Rhino.
It's not cheaper. It's like a couple of quid more expensive, but
It's cheaper.
still,
Because you can't buy the standard one anymore. You just get the Razorback kit for £30.
you can. But why would you?
They don't sell it. I'm sure they don't sell it anymore.
They do. I know this because I went to look on Games Workshop's website like 3 days ago and found their website was down for 2 days, and then went and looked somewhere else instead.
I did notice that because I was on there when we were doing researching for this, and I did notice that they had the Horus Heresies now along the top. But if you click on it, there's nothing in there.
Games Workshop always have problems with. Yeah, you're right. It's £30. It's £30 for a Rhino.
Is it?
Yeah.
Winning again. Suck it, Mark.
Fucking website I saw said it was 26 quid.
Oh, maybe a reseller will have it 26 quid.
Yeah, a
'cause you get-
reseller will have it for 26, but then a reseller will probably have the
Yeah,
new one for
that's
slightly
what it was
less as well.
discounted down from, not to. It's possible I misread it. Anyway.
But yeah, I really like that Demos Rhino. I've always liked the Demos Rhino anyway. I've still got a couple of the original ones from the early 90s.
And you know what a Rhino is good for? Sisters of Battle and Grey Knights.
It's not bad for Grey Knights. but I don't know that I'd use it, and we'll get into why. Let's get on with it, shall we? So before we do anything else, I've got to cover the elephant in the room. Or the baby carrier in the room.
The Nemesis Dreadnought?
Why?
Because, Jesus Christ, it's ugly.
I
It looks like an adult with a child strapped to its chest.
Is it supposed to be the thing from...
I never understood all the hate this thing got. Sorry, John.
Is it supposed to be like the loader from Aliens? Is that the inspiration?
I think
for
that's
this?
where they were going with it. I don't actually mind it, but I know a lot of people absolutely despise it. And it's not just TTS fans.
It's not massively dynamic in terms of how you compose
No,
it.
and
it's not a bad model.
It's not a great model to build. I didn't enjoy making it, to be honest. And I was disappointed that it's a little bit of a faff to magnetize as well because of the way the guns are attached. It means that they go round the arms, which makes them a bit of a fucker.
Something Games Workshop made is a faff to magnetize. Therefore, you've got to buy more of them. Games Workshop will cry into them.
I was a bit disappointed with that when I was building them. So, yeah, I don't mind it, but I know a lot of people absolutely hate it. This is the only time we're going to whinge about it. Yes, it does look a bit like a baby carrier.
I quite like it. Suck it.
I'm just really happy that Armor of Contempt hit this thing really hard because I didn't like playing against lists that had like 4 or 5 of these. I thought it was dumb.
Well, you can only run sort of 4 anyway because you can have 1 Grandmaster and then you can have 3 for your 3 data sheets and heavy support slot.
Sure, but I think before when I played against it, you could run 5, right? Because you could run 1 Grandmaster.
You used to be able to run multiple Grandmasters, and they nerfed that.
Okay.
Yeah,
because you can only run 1 Grandmaster in each like Brotherhood, because it's the Brotherhood Grandmaster. And when they change it, so you could only run 1 Brotherhood in an army.
Yeah, it was pretty obnoxious before. It
was because they're really good, but we'll talk about them properly later. The Grandmaster.
Oh, that's right. Because there was this one time when John got to the top tables of Blood Angels and then got the shit kicked out of him by Grey Knights.
Because he forgot how to screen, apparently.
And isn't bitter about it in the slightest.
Yeah, I'm over it.
It's been, 6 months?
It's been 6 months. Yeah, it probably took me about 5 months to get over it.
Right, let's get on then.
Yeah, let's go on.
So, there's some art. We've got a quick overview for now. This is just quick pros and cons of the whole thing. So if you want, you can watch this and turn off. One other thing I've not mentioned on here, don't do that. It was only a joke. Is their kind of army special rules. Their army special rules. They've got a 5-up save called the Aegis, which is a 5-up shrug against mortal wounds. Everybody's got that. And if they get +1 to deny the witch. That's just flat. All of them get that. It's handy.
Pretty useful in general, considering the large amount of mortal wounds kicking around.
Not going to moan about that. So let's get on to my sort of pros and cons. This is just an overview. I'll go into some detail as we go along. So they're really fast. They're pretty tough because they are Space Marines. They've got innate deep strike and other movement abilities, which means this is why I'm not such a fan of rhinos. Actually, they're just not necessary. Because everybody in your army can deep strike. So deep strike. And they're quick as well. They've got a lot of other movement abilities. They've got psychic powers. They've got strats. They've got warlord traits. They've got relics. They've got all sorts of stuff that can speed them across the table. So they're really fast for Space Marines. They hit pretty hard in melee. They don't quite hit Blood Angels hard in melee, but they still hit pretty hard in melee. And they've got a lot of...
Because they all got force weapons.
Because they've all got force weapons.
So
they don't get any like +1 to wound or anything.
That they do now.
I mean,
the force weapons, so they still do D3 damage like Mephiston does.
No, like the strike squads, for example, they basically use like Nemesis 4 swords, which have the same profile as like the mastercrafted swords that Bladeguard veterans have. So, +1 strength, -3 AP, 2 damage.
Yeah, okay. So just flat 2 damage. They're active in all phases, which is quite a bonus because it means you've got a bit of shooting, you've got loads of movement, you've got decent melee, and you've got decent psychic. So you can build your army around any of those phases, really, or all of them, depending on what you're going against, which is very nice. There are a couple of downsides, though. You don't have many of them. They're relatively expensive per model. There's quite limited good unit choices. You'll see when you go through the book, there's some really standout data sheets, and then they've got all the shit that Space Marines get, like Storm Ravens and land raiders,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. They've got quite a when you actually get rid of all the
stuff
sort of
Space
like
Marines never take.
filler, they've actually got a fairly narrow selection of unit choices. And there's a few that are so much better than the others, you'd never take them. And the last bit, they've got a lack of ranged AP. This is especially prevalent since Armour of Contempt, because a lot of their stuff caps out at AP -2. They've got a real lack of ranged anti-tank fire. They've got not many high damage weapons. A lot of their stuff's damage 2, AP -2. So it's really going to suffer against -1 damage. All of their infantry damage 2. Similar problem to Custodes if going things like Death Guard and that.
So going back to your second pro point there, where it says pretty good shooting to back it up.
Yep.
Is that last thing I remember about Grey Knights is they're all like capped at 24 inches firepower? Is that still a thing?
There's got various ways of boosting that range, and with a smaller table and they're really fast anyway, 24 inches is plenty for most things because they all want to be in your face. Every guy's got a big old sword and choppiness. What they have got is volume fire. They've got masses and masses of low AP, high volume fire.
So no melters, no plasma, no las cannons. Basically.
They're a bit lacking in those. That's what I'm saying with the long-range anti-tank. They've got dreadnoughts and venerable dreadnoughts and the things you can put on dreadnoughts and venerable dreadnoughts, and that's about it, really.
Can their dreadnoughts still fire out a line of sight with the psychic power?
No. They've changed a lot of the way that works. Now, rather than the old one where all units were basically psychers, could do what they wanted.
Yeah.
Now, everything has got access to what they call the Santic discipline, and then they've got one power that's like pre-written for them. So this unit gets this power, and some of them are very good. That power does exist, but it was nerfed a little bit. I'm trying to remember exactly how it reads now.
I remember in an old edition, I used to love running a venerable dreadnought with twin las cannon and missile launcher, and the shoot through line of sight psychic powers. So just sit it behind a building.
Yeah.
And things.
So it became Astral Aim.
Yeah, that's the one.
So they got rid of the line of sight ignoring, and now you get to re-roll a hit roll and ignores cover.
I mean, it's still good.
It's still good, but it's not massive like it used to be.
Yeah.
And because it's limited to units, the unit that gets that is the one with heavy weapons.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
So let's get into it properly.
Okay.
We're going to start off with their Masters of the Warp. Now, this is what we hear, the Tides. Now, you'll see at the top there, I've stuck the Psychic Power Warp shaping. This is crucial. You're going to need at least one, probably a couple of things in your army that have got this Psychic Power, because this is the only way you can shift between these tides. Otherwise, you pick your tide at the beginning of the game, and you're stuck in it.
What's the tide? Why do I care?
So the tides are kind of their equivalent with combat doctrines. So we've got a few of them here that are interesting. Now, there's 5 tides. 4 of them are fairly general purpose. One of them is super specific, only against demons. You're probably not going to rely on it that much unless you happen to be fighting demons. And then
do you have to pick them when you're writing your list, or can you pick them on an ad hoc fight-by-fight basis at a tournament?
Ad hoc.
You pick them at the start of the...
Don't shift automatically.
Yeah, you pick one at the start of the first battle round, and then you can use that warp shaping to change it.
So the first one we've got here is the Tide of Convergence. Now, this is what I was saying about the range. Adds 6 inches to the range of your psi weapons, which is most of them.
Okay, bumps up to 30 inches, which is...
Yeah. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack with an nemesis weapon, unmodified roll of 6, target suffers a mortal wound. In addition to damage, you can't do more than 6 per phase.
Which, if you're rolling large amounts of dice...
You'll probably cap that out.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
If you've got a lot of charges going on.
And
it's handy for shooting. The next one...
Hold on. A unit of 5 Marines, all armed with Storm Bolters, would do, what, 20 shots? Is that right?
Well, this is only melee attacks, Mark.
Yeah, they don't get their mortal wounds for shooting.
Yeah, sorry. Right,
but still, you're right. Like a strike squad that have, like, I don't know,
loads of attacks.
What was the strike squad got? Like 4 attacks for the Justicar,
like
3 for the rest. Do they have They don't get shock assault or anything like that. It's just
they roll shock assault into their attack profile.
Yeah.
So your basic guy's got 2 attacks.
So like a strike squad of 5 guys That's 22 points per model. You're looking at 16 attacks for 5 guys.
Yeah.
So it's
and then your Justicar's got
110
3 attacks each. I misread that. 3 attacks each, 4 for the Justicar.
yeah. So it's not
so
bad. It's really not bad.
So 16 attacks for 110 points at melee.
Yep. And there's ways of boosting that and stuff, and I'll get into that later.
It's definitely an army that wants to get close. It wants to get in your face, and
it's a medium to short range army, definitely.
okay.
So Tide of Celerity is the next one. This is quite an interesting one. If you make an advance roll, or you make a charge, anything you roll that's less than 3 counts as 3.
This is so good.
This means that you've got a minimum of a 6 when you're charging.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
Doesn't change your odds of rolling a 7, but a minimum 6 is nice to bank on.
I mean, in some ways it does change your odds, right? Because, like, if you roll a 6 on one dice, then it's a guaranteed 9-inch charge.
Interesting to work out what those odds change to one day.
I don't know how I could do that, but
it's pretty good. But it's another one that I'm going to come back to later.
I'll do a little matrix. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just work it out. But no, I'm not going to do that now.
It's huge how good this one is. This is like once you get to turn
powerful.
3 in the game or something, your guys are so fast you can almost just start guaranteeing charges.
If I was going with a full melee army and I wasn't going to be able to get warp shaping off, or I just decided screw it, I'm not going to bother bringing it, this is probably the one I'd start in and stay in. Mm-hmm. It's that powerful.
Why? And is there any realistic situation in which case you would not be taking warp shaping?
No, I don't think so.
No, not really. Well, unless you just made that conscious decision, fuck it, don't need it. And I've put all of my stuff into other powers, because Dominus Discipline, I'll get into that later, is incredible. And having to spend one of your powers on warp shaping is a little annoying.
All right.
But this one,
okay, so
this one's
next one then.
Sorry, last point on Tide of Clarity.
Celerity.
Sorry. That makes deep strike charging feel super reliable as well.
Right, we'll work it out now.
Okay.
Again, like I say, I'm going to get into that later.
Cool.
So next one on here is Tide of Shadows. Tide of Shadows means that if you're more than 12 inches away, you get light cover. If you've already got light cover, you get light cover and dense cover.
It's nice.
That's pretty handy. It's pretty handy to start in if you've got plenty of warp shaping, because it means that potentially if you haven't got first turn, your whole army's got light cover.
Yeah, that's good as well.
That's pretty handy, especially with armor contempt.
If you had warp shaping, you would start with that just for caution's sake, and then swap into something else.
And you see that quite a lot when you see armies starting in a Tide. This is one of the ones that people tend to start in. Okay, and then the last one that I'm going to talk about is Tide of Escalation. Now, this one is a very important one, although it doesn't look that good at the beginning. While this Tide is active, you can cast your Brotherhood psychic power, which every Brotherhood you can pick, think chapter, has got its own psychic power, multiple times. A bit like Smite, it just goes up by a point of difficulty each time. Now, the Brotherhood powers are really powerful. So the Tide of Escalation becomes really, really useful when you're trying to set up big combos for things later on. Like I say, there are 5. The 5th one's about demons. We don't care about that.
Not yet.
Not yet. Demons suddenly might become good, and then we will care about them.
Fair enough. Do you want to cover it in a brief nutshell?
Yeah, sure. I can
about it, just for the sake of knowing what it is.
Give me one.
It's -2 leadership for all demons within 6 inches. And each time a model in this unit makes an attack against demon, its reroll hits of 1 and wounds of 1.
So it's powerful, but only against demons. And nobody cares about the leadership thing either. Because leadership.
Fair enough. Okay.
I'm rattling on here. To the Brotherhoods. Now, there are a few different Brotherhoods. They've all got, each one's got its own.
But a Brotherhood is basically what? A chapter?
Basically a chapter.
Okay.
Think chapter, but obviously much smaller. So Each one's got its own strat, its own psychic power, and its own warlord trait.
I think there's 8
There
of
are a
them
few
total.
different ones. There's about half a dozen of them. They are quite interesting, but I've just picked out a couple for this. So let me just, rather than just saying about, I'll give you an actual number. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 different Brotherhoods, and they've each got their own different benefits.
Right, so just going back slightly,
Yep.
it increases the odds of a 7-inch charge from approximately 58% up to 75%.
Well, that's more than I expected, but I did think it was pretty powerful.
75% is very close to
And remember, you've got a reroll on that if you want it.
Yeah, so I guess if you're
regular 7-inch reroll.
I was gonna say if you're re-rolling it, you're like 92% charge on a 92% chance on a 7-inch charge. That's crazy.
Okay, so a couple of the Brotherhoods that I've picked out for your delectation. Then
Okay.
the first one is the Rapiers.
No. Go back a screen. Just tab. What the fuck kind of Grey Knight? No. Forward to the picture, but without the thing in front of it. What the fuck kind of a Grey Knight has that weird sort of skull?
I don't know, but I thought it was cool.
He's the one that wishes he
Makes
was a
me
blood
think
angel.
Chaplain.
Do they do Grey Knight chaplains?
No, he just wants to be a blood angel. He's wishing that he was a blood angel.
But yeah, you do get Grey Knight chaplains, but it's the same model as a Space Marine chaplain. You just painted silver.
Never seen a Grey Knight look like that before. Cool. Anyway, sorry. Please continue. My apologies.
Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the Rapiers. Now, I really like these guys. They are your kind of melee Brotherhood. Their strat, when a unit is selected to fight until the end of that phase, each time a model in the unit makes an attack, an unmodified roll of a 6, score an additional hit.
So this is the strat that you would be able to... This is the power you'd be able to cast multiple times, right? Or
well,
no?
No, this is the strat. This is just a strat.
So it's the psychic power that you can cast multiple
The
times
psychic
from...
power, if you were in the right tide, you could cast this multiple times.
Okay.
Now, the psychic power these guys get...
Hold on a second. Sorry. What was that thing that did mortal wounds on a roll of what in melee? What was that again?
That's
Is it a hit roll
it's
or
two
a
different
wound?
tides you're talking about here. So that's Tide of Convergence. That's the one that will give you your mortal wounds in melee. But it's Tide of
Okay,
Escalation
it's,
that gives you the multiple casts of psychic powers.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking stacking the unmodified wound roll of 6 mortal wounds and then the unmodified hit roll of 6.
Yes, you can
for
do
hit
that.
Starts getting very interesting. Okay, sorry. Yep. Okay.
Okay, psychic power. If it goes off, it's a buff. It just gives you an extra attack.
So can you
Now,
say you...
every model in the army, because you're all the same Brotherhood, has got this psychic power.
And
Now-
Yeah, they can't cast it on another unit. It casts on the unit.
Casts it on itself.
Yeah. Okay.
So warp charge of a 6 is fairly low, but if you use Tide of Escalation, you can start casting it on multiple, although it does going to go up. But there are ways you can make it easier to cast as well. And we'll come to some of those later. So it's quite powerful. It's just a flat buff. Extra attack, everybody.
Okay.
It's
And
worth...
advance and charge is fucking brilliant, especially
Yeah,
if you
and
roll it.
the Warlord trait is Advance and Charge, which is incredible on a Grey Knight in Nemesis Dread Knight.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially if you're
Grandmaster.
rolling minimum 3s on your dice for advance and on charges at the same time.
Yep. And Advance and Charge. You can
Cool.
yeet your guy up the field very, very quickly. So the next one that I've picked out is the Preservers. Now, this is one that nobody really seems to take, but I quite like it. And the reason I quite like it is the strat is a before the game strat, which buffs up one of your dreadnoughts. That's all right. Dreadnoughts, Venerable Dreadnoughts are pretty good. Giving them a movement of 8, reroll charges, and also +1 damage in melee. That's all right. But the real good thing about this one is the psychic power. So the psychic power here gives you a 6-up, feel no pain.
Which Vendreads have natively.
Sorry?
Which Venerable Dreadnought has.
Yeah, but this is for all of your normal guys.
Okay.
This stacks with your Apothecary. This means that if you're trying to run a super durable blob, you can stick an Apothecary in the middle of them and have everybody with a 5-up, feel no pain.
Very nice.
Which is rather nice. There are also psychic powers to give you 4-up invuln save. So you can have guys with 2-up armor, 4-up invuln, 5+ feel no pain in a big blob.
Do you purposely make these slides to make me feel jealous?
Yes.
Okay, because like how the fuck?
I mean, I'm trying to show the best that these guys can do. There is some stuff that's
you need to be aware of what might get thrown at you.
Yeah, like why can't Death Company get their 6-up improved to 5-up when they're next to Apothecary? Because that's exactly the same thing here, but for whatever reason.
They have a strat that buffs it to 5-up anyway. So.
And costs a bazillion CP.
Yeah,
yeah. 2 CP.
I'd much rather do that.
It's starved a bit. Their Warlord trait, add 3 to the aura abilities. It's fine. If you've got auras and you want to buff them.
Yeah, I really rate it, but I understand a lot of other people don't rate it.
It depends on how you build. And this is actually something that turns me off this army because I'm going to jump out.
Okay, so Stephen Box, who ran that big performing Blood Angel list, took Dante and had Dante as his Warlord. Had that aura extension from 6 to 9 inches, and he ran it in his big ass winning list.
Okay. He didn't win the tournament though, so I mean, there's that.
Yeah, well, 3rd at Bay Area still.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
I think you took Dante for the CP in that list, but yeah.
Still made him Warlord.
You just love Dante, Mark. I know you love Dante. It's okay to love Dante.
Before Mark interrupted me talking about Dante, because we're not talking about Blood Angels, Mark. We're talking about Grey Knights.
Oh, okay.
It is quite powerful if you're reliant on aura abilities. Now, one of the things I don't like about Grey Knights is they're very, very synergistic. They rely very heavily on their characters and sort of like this kind of combined buffingness to make them very powerful. And they don't work so well without them, which is why they're just not an army for me. I build to not rely on big auras and overlapping things.
Does it make your head hurt?
No, I just don't like it because it means that it's points of failure. It means that if someone kills off that key character, suddenly your army falls apart. Okay, and I don't like building for that. Anyway, so some people are going to really like that. It's not one for me. But let's move on. Silver Blades. Now, these guys are an interesting one. They're actually, surprisingly, more of a shooting army. They're strat, fall back and shoot. That's pretty nice. These guys have got serious volume fire.
Yeah, all the Stormbolters, yeah.
Core unit. Stormbolters and that. Infantry, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Dread Knight's core.
Don't remember. I'll have to check that.
AKA, can Dread Knights benefit from this?
The Nemesis Dread Knight is
core. Yeah.
Yes, you can. Okay, cool.
And if you build a shooty Dread Knight, you can put like 4 guns on it if you want.
Really? I can put like 2. Put like one on one arm, one on the other arm, and that's 2 guns.
I thought you put one on the shoulders as well. I don't remember.
Nah.
I mean, you got to remember, like, a lot of their guys are running Stormbolters as well. You know, like, so fall back and shoot with
a lot
massive amount of Stormbolters is decent too.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right too. I don't know why I thought 4. But it's still 2.
Okay. Yeah, still.
And they're big guns as well. Okay, so their psychic power is an interesting one, but it could be potentially very powerful if you're against the right target. What it does is it changes all of your Stormbolters to pistol 4.
All right. Okay.
Because you can shoot them in combat.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you've got units that are stuck in huge mobs of chaff, switching them all pistol 4 will help you burn through that big mob of Poxwalkers or whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
So it can be quite powerful, but it is quite situational. Their Warlord trait, it's okay, it's fight first. But it does also get reroll hits. Now you're hitting on a 2 anyway. If you got the big hammer, you're hitting on a 3, so maybe that's going to become pretty valuable. So reroll hits
but I wouldn't take
and fight first.
Trait.
It's all right. It's better than the Speed of the Primarch.
Yeah, yeah. Flat.
So
it's flat, better the Speed of the Primarch. There's no denying it. It's got an extra feature the Speed of the Primarch doesn't have on top of what Speed of the Primarch does.
So they're the 3 out of the 8 that I've picked out. The other ones, there's some great stuff in there. Ward Makers has got some interesting stuff about Psychic. They've all got kind of a theme that they've gone down, but these are the 3 that I like the most.
Cool.
Out of them. I'm going to bring up Ward Makers again later on in the video for a synergy that can be quite cheeky. So we'll come back to that one. John, you haven't said anything for a while.
No, I mean, I actually really like the Silver Blades because being able to fall back and shoot one unit and then have another unit or potentially multiple other units swap out their pistol for means that, like, you're just going to have so much clear. You know, like, one of the problems typically with, like, if you run a 10-man squad, I guess, is, like, if the enemy tags it with a few models and, you know, you don't get a charge again the next turn, well, if you can suddenly be like, well, I'm just going to shoot you with 40 pistol shots, that's going to do some damage, right? And then you free up the unit to get out and charge. But, I mean, Grey Knights also, with the multiple smites and, like, every unit being a psyker, it's very difficult to ever lock their units in combat. So this one, actually, Silver Blades just makes that, like, nigh on impossible unless you're putting dreadnoughts or something that are not going to really take that much damage from strength 4 guns, right?
But yeah, it's a lot of fire.
I like a lot,
and it will synergize with other things as well, so you can buff them up in other ways. It's not bad. I don't know if it's the one I'm going to pick. If it's me, to be honest, I'm rapiers all the way, but that's because at heart I'm a Blood Angels player. And more death and advance and charge. I love that.
I might go for the preservers.
Actually, got a bit of a tanky blob.
My view on Grey Knights has been, which you may tell me is bollocks, that they're fast, they hit hard, they're maneuverable. What you want to do is try and screen them out, blunt their attack, and then hit them hard before they hit you on the basis that they're not really that resilient.
Well, they are just Space Marines at the end of the day.
Yeah, so they're a 3-up armor with, 2 wounds?
They've got a few things. They've got a lot of... Because remember, they can have Terminators for troops.
But yes. Yeah, they don't. Most people don't do that, to my understanding.
Most people don't do that. I think we haven't seen much change or much from them since Armour of Contempt, but with Armour of Contempt and their Terminators got a big points drop, I think that there used to be no one takes those, you always take strike squads. Mm-hmm. I wonder if the Terminators have started to come a bit more into vogue. I do quite like the look of them.
With the 2-up and Armour of Contempt there.
2-up Armour of Contempt, big points drop.
How much is a Brotherhood Terminator these days?
I don't know. You've got Wikipedia in front of you.
It's saying 40 on Wikipedia, but I don't know if I trust it.
Well, let's check the official Games Workshop app.
Because
I don't own the codex and it won't tell me. I don't know.
I think the reason you take the strike squad,
I think it is 40. Does sound about right.
If you look at a strike squad, right? They have the same
22 points.
They're 22 points per model. They have the same number of attacks. They basically have the same weapons as the Terminators because they have the Stormbolters and they have the Nemesis Force Swords. Yep. So basically, for the Terminators, you're almost doubling up the points because it's 40 against 22. All you're getting is a +1 to your armor save and a +1 to wound. So 18 points per model for +1 armor save, +1 wound. That's probably why
you're getting +1 armor save, +1 wound, a 5-up invulnerable save.
But do you need a 5-up invulnerable save for the Armour of Contempt? I mean, you need to be hit with like -4 now to nullify that.
To go on to that. And you can also, I'm not sure if the strike squad can take the warding stave.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
the warding stave means you can give them a 4-up invuln.
I'm pretty sure a Power Armor Grey Knight can take that.
And
does that only work in melee?
No, it's everything, but it's now a strat. It used to be flat.
No.
You've got to have the kit to do the strat.
And the Terminators are slow, and the Nemesis... sorry, not the Nemesis. The Strike Squads can go in a Rhino, so I just think that's probably why we haven't seen
many of them.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw 10... With
the increase to a 2-up armor save with Armour of Contempt, I can see there being an argument to take maybe a unit.
I don't think they're bad. I think they're pretty good. They are a bit slow, yes, but they are quite a bit tougher.
I suppose on the similar count, you don't see people taking heavy intercessors.
True. But I don't know if it's the armor that's the problem for the heavy intercessors, is it? Because people run aggressors and people run eradicators and don't really have problems with those, right?
It's the killing in conjunction with the durability. Yeah. The durability that you get from them does not sufficiently offset their increased points cost. Yeah. Considering that if you want something to die, it'll die.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
So, anyways, I think they're all right. They're not good. If you're gonna, this is what I said at the beginning. Remember I said pros and cons, limited data sheets. You take strike squads, because if you're going to go pure competitive, you take the strike squad for exactly what John says. The extra armor, the extra wound is not 18 points better.
For the amount of guns, you extra guns.
It's got exactly the same damage output.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's move on then and look at the wisdom of the Prognosticars. Now, this is a fancy way of saying paid for unit upgrade, paid for character upgrades.
Right.
Now,
Cool.
Where this is a little bit different is you've got kind of two. You've got the Visions of the Augurium and you've got the Prescient. Now, the Visions are once per game upgrades. You buy it, you can pop it once per game. Whereas the gifts are a little bit more like relics.
All right, cool.
Most of them are still once per game, but they're still more relic-y. Some of them are not. So I've just pretty much lumped them in together.
Game are more expensive in general.
Yeah. So I've just lumped these in together, and I've picked out a couple that I thought were interesting. So the first one is a vision, and that is the Augury of Aggression. Once per battle, when a friendly Grey Knight's core or Grey Knight's character within 12 of the model is selected to fire Overwatch, this model can experience this vision. If it does, till the end of the phase, Overwatch is on a 4-up.
Sick. Don't see
I mean, it's good, but I wouldn't buy that.
If that's on a big unit all armed with heavy weapons, then suddenly you've got one hell of a lot of firepower coming from something.
You do, but equally so, the fact that it's restricted to only being used on the model that you've chosen at the list writing stage.
No. It's used on a unit within 12 of the model you chose at the list writing stage.
God, blind.
So if you've got it in the middle of your army, then that's a 24-inch bubble.
Yeah. I mean, it's good.
That's a big chunk of the board. If someone charges it, they're overwatching on a 4-up.
I withdraw my completely wrong assertion.
20 points.
It depends again of how you build. If you build like more melee and you've not got much shooty, don't take this. But if you've gone with a more shooty army, this isn't something bad to take. For 20 points, I think that could make its points back.
Have they got any like chapter master rerolls type thing that they can give out or no?
Yeah, Drago.
Yes, they do.
Caldor Drago has that shit.
So you could throw somebody. You could throw somebody forward.
And Caldor Drago is a beat stick, so I understand it. Is that right? Is he still a beat
Caldor
stick?
Drago is just broken. We'll talk about him later.
Okay.
So you could Overwatch on 4s and you could reroll all your misses.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty fucking strong.
If you predicted giving the relevant unit the rerolls in your command phase the turn before the opponent's turn when they charge you. Yeah.
I mean, there's a few ifs there, but I guess if you could bait some people out and then that's a big gotcha in a tournament or something like that.
Yeah, so Drago does that, but the standard Grandmasters and that do not.
Okay.
They've just got reroll ones.
Still, hitting off 4s reroll 1s is better than a kick in the cock.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Anyway, so let's keep rolling. The next one I've picked out is the Foretelling of Locust. I love the names of this stuff. It's so dramatic. So this one is almost... I'm probably going to take this in every game. I'll stick it on someone. It's 30 points. It's the most expensive, but you can redeploy 3 units.
And
you can put them in strategic reserve.
You can put them into strategic reserve if you want. Okay.
Yeah, fucking buy that. Absolutely.
30 points to redeploy 3 units. Yeah, definitely. Every time. It's not got any weird, only these types of units. Most of your army's core. There's very few things that haven't got core.
Nice. All right, cool.
It's just a flat, that's excellent, take that. The next one I've picked out for you is the Servant of the Throne. Once per battle, when the bearer is selected as the target of an attack, it can use this gift. If it does, 3-up invuln.
Until the end of the turn. Nice.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah,
20 points for a 3-up invuln for one turn.
Target of the attack. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it means someone's got to shoot him first. You haven't got to pop it in expectation. Pretty tasty.
Yeah.
And the last one is the Gem of a Noctu, which just gives me weird Doctor Strange vibes. Once per battle, when they select to use them psychic powers, if you do, till the end of this phase, which is important because you can cast multiple powers in a phase, you add 2 to your psychic tests.
Cool. If you don't want Doctor Strange vibes, you could read it as Gem of Imhotep and get the mummy instead.
You could. But 15 points to get +2 to casts, when you know that character's got some really important things to come up.
Yeah, that's what the guy did to me in that tournament. Is he jumped a character in, he popped a gem, he popped something else, and then he basically
I suspect if you then got blown up by mortal wounds.
Yeah, I got blown up by like 12 mortal wounds.
I'm going to show you that combo in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
And the only reason he managed to do that was because Blade Guard veterans have those stupid Crozius things on their backpack, and one of them was like sticking 1 millimeter above a bit of terrain and you could see him. I was like, God damn it, that tiny little pointy thing on the back of the Blade Guard veterans backpack.
The terrain wasn't obscuring anything, obviously.
I mean, some pieces were obscuring, but this was just one of these pieces that wasn't obscuring. So yeah, it was the terrain must have been about 4 inches tall, which I guess is what the Blade Guard is. You know, it's 5 inches for obscuring terrain. So it fucked me.
Okay.
So I'll be forever bitter against the Gem of Inoctu.
Yes.
So noted.
It's a pretty good gem, though. 15 points as well. I think that's the steal. Okay, so next thing we've got then is our strats. Now, again, I've just picked out a few of my favourites. It's got the same sort of couple of pages of strats that every codex has got.
You've misspelled
some of them are really specific, so I've just picked out ones that I particularly enjoyed.
Is there stratagems in this codex?
No, there's stratagems. There aren't any stratagems. They don't exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the slides, Tony. We love you.
Right, okay. It's all right. I'm going to cover it up. I think. Actually, I'm not on this one. So the first one, super important. I've already mentioned it. I'm not going to talk about it again. Oh, no, I haven't mentioned this one. Not that. No. Psychic Challenging. This is a really good one. 1 CP. Until the end of the phase, you can roll an additional D6 and discard 1.
Yeah.
This is super powerful.
Especially if you combo it with the gem.
There's a better combo than that. It gets really silly.
All right. Bring it.
So yeah, 3d6 psychic casting. That's all right. The second one, Sanctified Kill Zone. If you've got a Purgation squad, which is your shooty squad, each time a ranged attack is made by your shooty squad, add 1 to wound at range. +1 to wound at range is very powerful on a squad that can be pretty big and have a lot of heavy weapons in it.
And the Purgation squad is the squad that has all the heavy weapons.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of CP, but I bet that's worth it. Fight on the move. This only affects things with Teleporter, which is your the Teleporty infantry, which I can't remember the name of, but they're kind of your high-speed infantry, your fast attack ones.
Interceptors.
And if you pay for the upgrade for your Dread Knights, but it does cost 10 points to give them the Teleporter keyword, this will work. But it means that when it falls back, it can shoot and charge.
Nice.
For 1 CP. That's incredible on a Dread Knight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pretty good on the big squads with high-speed teleporters as well.
Interceptors, that's
the one. So the next one I've picked, Teleportation Shunt, as we're talking about teleporter units. Instead of making a normal move it somewhere else on the board 9 inches away from an enemy.
Was something supposed to appear then?
It did. Took the top left.
Top left.
Oh, you overwrit the first one. Right, sorry.
Overwrit the first one.
I was expecting it to go in the other.
It doesn't, and it's going to really bug you because nor does the next one.
Okay.
So this is incredibly powerful. Do you remember when they got rid of on Wings of Fire because they said it was too powerful and now takes 2 turns?
Yeah.
Well, they've got this. Combo it with that one where you can basically never roll less than a 3 on either dice for your for your charge roll. It's pretty tasty.
You see, logically, if you think about it, logically, Space Marines with Blood Angels fly up and then come down. It takes a bit of time to fly up and come down, so that makes sense that it would take another turn to come down again from upon Wings of Fire. And if you're teleporting, you disappear and you reappear instantaneously. It makes logical sense.
Yeah, and this can only be done once on a unit as well, whereas you can
they gave it to the
upon Wings and Fire as often as you like.
But hey, let's just not go there.
But yeah, that's pretty powerful.
2 CP is...
It's worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Generally. So the next one is Cybolt Ammunition.
Right place, right time.
I mean, now, 2 CP is worth it. Sorry, can I just jump in there? Because you could literally claim any objective on the board with that as well. You don't always have to try and make charges, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one here is Cybolt Ammunition. Use it in your shooting phase when a Grey Knight army unit is used with bolt weapons, which is, so it's basically your storm bolters and that. It means that hit rolls of 6 automatically wound, and your AP gets improved by 1.
Very
this
good.
This become a lot more important into Armour of Contempt.
Yeah, taste.
I was going to say very good if you combo it with some of those other ones where you can basically shoot all your guns at pistol 4.
Yep.
Because I mean, as a squad of, let's say, like a 10-man strike squad, you're talking 40 bolter shots. So how many 6s are you going to roll? That's a lot of auto wounds.
So that means if you're stuck in combat, even against dreadnoughts or things like that.
If you're running strike squads, would you ever run them as a squad of 10, or would you always do them as a squad of 5 because minimum troop size units?
I think they're so cheap. I would probably... Like, I mean, if you think 7 Sanguinary Guard are coming in at like 230 points, whereas you could get 10 strike squad guys for 10 points less, I think strike squads...
nearly as hard in combat.
I think they can definitely be running between 5 and 10s. Like, probably 8s or 10s is totally fine, depending on where you end up.
There's only a couple that get more expensive when the unit gets bigger as well.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Obviously, the interceptors that teleport, shunt, and jump obviously have storm bolts as well. So
yeah,
exactly. So, and then the last one is the Steel Heart. Use this stratagem in your fight phase when a Terminator unit from your army, Terminators and Paladins, is selected to fight until the end of the phase. Add 1 to hit.
It's good.
Just 1 CP for a flat improvement on your unit.
Pretty solid.
Pretty solid. Okay, so
they're versatile. They've got the right tools to pop at whatever time you want for whatever you want to do.
But this army is super CP hungry. You're going to be wanting to run battalions. You're not going to be wanting to run lots of Forge Worldy stuff or anything else. Not that they've got much Forge World stuff. They can take Thunderhawk gunships, though. Okay, so Relics.
Silence.
Now,
we're just like,
compared to some of the other armies and compared to some of the other bits, I found the Relics and the Warlord Traits a little bit lackluster, if I'm honest. Well, I struggled to pick out any really good one. They've got a Relic version of every weapon, which is a slightly better version of that weapon.
Right.
And they've got a couple of other interesting things, and that's where I've picked. But a lot of the stuff is super situational. Now, if you knew you were going to be playing a lot of demons and you could stack up loads of Relics and Warlord Traits and Tides and be absolutely lethal. But if you're trying to build a more general list, a lot of the stuff suddenly goes in the bin. So these are ones I've picked out for you. The first one is the Curious of Sacrifice.
Quirus.
Quirus. Sure. Add 1 to your armor save and a 5-up feel no pain.
That can go on a Terminator armor or power armor.
Yeah.
Model as infantry. Yeah. Cool.
It's all right, isn't it?
Very nice.
Yeah, we don't. So, I mean, essentially that's almost like having Terminator and with the Storm Shield. Because basically you have a 1-up save ignoring AP1.
Remember that will stack with Armor of Contempt. So that'll give you a 1-up armor save and Armor of Contempt.
Very nice.
That's pretty horrible.
And a 5-up feel no pain. And if it's on your captain or whatever, a 4-up invuln.
Nice.
Or 3-up, because it will stack with that other upgrade to give him a 3-up once per game.
Oh, the psychic power.
No, the paid upgrade.
Oh, yeah, and that. Okay. Does the psychic power still exist? It gives +1 to the invulnerable save.
No, it doesn't.
No, I don't think they do that anymore.
So the second one I picked out is the Cantu Vambrace. This gives you a 4-up shrug against mortals, which is a little bit better than the 5-up you normally get. But it also -1 damage.
-1 damage is nice. I wouldn't take it for buffing Mortal Wound shrugged from 5 to 4, because that's not really that.
No, you wouldn't. You take it for the -1 damage.
Yeah.
But the 4-up shrug against things is nicer anyway.
Is there any way to give multiple relics or warlord traits to a model?
Yes.
With Relics?
Yes, there are.
Both, or just one of them?
I think you can give you can definitely give multiple warlord traits. I'm not sure you can give multiple relics, however.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's all I picked.
Nice.
Like I say, the rest of them were very situational. These felt like the most, unless you could just buff up one of your weapons, which if you've got a spare relic, you might as well.
Are there any relics you can give to Dread Knights?
That's an interesting one. I can't see any reason you can't.
Well, they say infantry only.
But most of them say infantry only.
They do.
But there's a couple that don't. And I'll talk about one of them in a minute.
Okay.
But most of them are, like I say, very, very specific.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like things like the Sanctic Shard. If you've got roll an 8+ on your Deny the Witch, you automatically deny the Witch, irrespective of what was rolled. That could be handy, but it's useless if you haven't got any psychic powers coming into you.
Yeah.
The Augurium Scrolls, reroll 1 hit, 1 wound when you fight. It's all right.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Now, the other one that I'm going to talk about later is a Sigil of Exigence, and that's the one that lets you teleport if you get shot at. But that really only has one proper use, and so I'm going to talk about that in its use case.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, most of them are quite, like I say, very kind of specific in their job. So I don't think you're going to be taking them in a kind of general all-comers list. But if you're going against a specific opponent, then there's loads of them here that could be very, very useful. I like that one for the Deny the Witch. If you're going against a 1,000 Suns, that could be really powerful.
You busy getting PTSD flashbacks from that game, John?
Yeah, no, I was just checking. It looks like you can run multiple Warlord traits, but there doesn't seem to be any way to run multiple relics. What is interesting is they do have something called Endowment in Extremis, which means you can give like some of their relics to
Sergeants or little blokes.
It says use before the battle, select one Grey Knight model from your army that is one of the following Justicar Paragon Knights of the Flame, and they can be given one of these like 4 relics.
Yes, it's your sergeants.
Okay.
So there is a way to do that as well. So yeah, there's a lot here, but I think a lot of pre-planning is in order for this list.
If you know who you're playing against, then you can absolutely list tailor to the absolute nth degree.
Yes, it seems that way,
and wreck their face. But if you don't know who you're playing, you can't rely on some of these really powerful but really situational relics.
Fair enough. Which is as it should be.
Which is how it should be. Okay, so... Oh, there's one more. Sigil of Exigence. There it is. And the Sanctic Shard. So these two are powerful but only in specific use cases. So let's keep going then.
All right.
Warlord Traits. Similar situation. The first one I've picked out here is the Hammer of Righteousness. Each time this Warlord makes a melee attack, if it made a charge move, +1 to wound. So it's how you turn your character into a Blood Angel.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Psychic Epitome.
Epitome.
Start of your psychic phase, select one friendly Grey Knight Psyker unit within 6 of the Warlord. Until the end of that phase, each time it manifests a Witchfire psychic power, add an additional mortal wound.
This is
very nice.
Very nice. Especially if you stack it with the guy. Stack it with the guy that's got +2 to cast. He's also casting on 3d6. He's also able to cast an additional power each turn. You see where we're going. I don't know if they've nerfed it, but I think the Brother Librarian can still do like 18 mortal wounds a turn.
He can do potentially a ridiculous number.
For a 100-point character.
Yeah. Next one then, First to the Fray. Now this is another one that's going to come up later. Add 1 to advance and charge rolls. Again, if you give him 2 Warlord traits, you can turn him into a Blood Angel. But where this has a little bit of an extra benefit, as long as the Warlord has made a charge against a target, then any other Grey Knights that charge that same target also get the benefit of +1 to charge.
Nice.
Cool.
Pretty handy. And again, like I said with the other stuff, now each Brotherhood has got its Warlord traits. Some of those are quite good. I've already mentioned the Rapier's one with advance and charge. But the other standard ones, again, are super, super situational. These are your kind of 3 more all-purpose, all-comers kind of ones that you can pick out of that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I just wanted to say a cool one, actually. If we're talking about them dishing out a lot of mortal wounds and casting on 3d6 and getting +2 to all their casts, there is a Warlord trait called Lore Master. Each time a psychic test is taken with this Warlord, if the result of the test was an unmodified roll of 8+, it cannot be denied.
Which is really powerful, but locks you into being a Ward Maker's army. Which is the downside to that one.
True.
Yeah.
Undeniable powers, though, is...
Yeah,
cool.
It's going to come up later, John.
Okay.
So, another thought that's come into me while I'm thinking about facing these and planning how to deal with them is being a high mobile force that you want to screen out, try and blunt their initial attacks. They've got a lot of moving and teleporting and redeploying as well. So, if you think you might be facing these and they're going to be causing you an issue, 3 units of infiltrators as your troops choice in a battalion.
Yeah. It's another one that infiltrators are super valuable for.
Yeah, we'll screen out if they're at the front of their army. They'll screen out against charges, and they'll screen out any redeploys. And infiltrators could be.
They come in. Later on, I've got a couple of really, really horrible combos, both of which are completely useless if you've brought infiltrators. All of which, in fact, are useless against infiltrators. They're that important.
Infiltrators for the win. They also fuck up Gene Stealer cults as well, but that's for a different thing.
Well, not really. They've got lots of deep strikey stuff, and infiltrators fuck that up. And same with Eldar and even Tau to an extent.
Eldar, so all right. Anyway, moving on.
Let's move on. Psychic powers. Now, I'm only talking about Dominus powers here because the Santic, they're mega situational, and more importantly, they are tied to the unit. There's a couple of ways of taking a Santic power as well. But really, the Santic are kind of the unit powers, whereas Dominus is kind of your general powers.
Tony, do you want me to stop correcting you when something's wrong? Or do you want me to just keep going? Or do you not care?
I don't know. What did I say this time?
Sanctic is SANCTIC, as in something is sanctified or so forth.
I'm pretty sure I said Santic.
You have said Santic, yes. It is definitely Sanctic. I'm sorry. But also not sorry at the same time.
I'm not sure it is Sanctic.
I'll bet you a $5.
I'm not taking that bet because then I'll lose.
Yeah, pretty
you're
sure
right.
You typoed it. It's okay.
That's why I'm the least popular Grot, obviously.
Okay, so these are the powers I've picked out. Same deal as last time. The first one, Ghostly Bonds. An interesting, situational, but powerful. Only got a warp charge value of 5, so it's pretty easy to get off. 1 enemy unit with an 18 and visible, half the movement for the next turn.
Excellent. And
This
there's
could be
none of
really
these
important.
usual restrictions of can't fly or any other bollocks like that.
No, nothing weird. Just that unit, half your movement.
Excellent.
Sanctuary. Warp charge 6, still very low.
That's the one that used to give +1 to your invul save, but
Now it just gives you a 4 up invuln,
yeah, good.
which is still powerful.
Oh yeah, it's just
For a warp charge of 6 as well.
very nice.
Empiric amplification. Warp charge 7. Select 1 enemy unit within 12 and visible to your psychic until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time an attack is made with a nemesis or psi weapon, its attack is allocated to a model in that unit. Add 1 to damage.
Okay, that's pretty tasty.
That's really
Let's be fair, you've got to be within 12 inches of an enemy unit at the end of your movement phase.
Sort of, but you can also boost the range by 6 inches with a strat.
I thought that was shooting. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay.
No, there's another strat for doing that to psychic powers.
Right, of course there is.
Dude, this is why strike squads, Mark, because like here you can make your strike squad have a 4-up invulnerable save. You could just make your giant 10-man strike squad, all their force swords just became essentially
hits on a 6
thunder hammers. It's nice.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
You don't even need to use thunder hammers with this shit.
No, that's the point. Your standard swords are now thunder hammers.
Are they better then? Because they got an additional point of AP?
Because you haven't got -1 to hit, and you hit and AP -3.
Okay, cool.
Vortex of Doom. Now this is the one that's going to give John PTSD.
Oh, is this the silly
Vortex of Doom? Warp charge 7. If manifested, select the closest enemy unit within 12 of and visible to the Psyker. Each other enemy unit within 3 inches of the selected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. The selected unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. Now, they have clarified you can't use Psychic Epitome to do 2 mortal wounds to all the units around it. It'll only do 2d3 plus 1 to the unit you targeted, but that's still a minimum of 3 mortal wounds. Maximum of 7 mortal wounds to it with 1 spell.
Which, yeah, but I mean, it's 1 spell which you can pretty much guarantee the cast with +2 to cast.
And if your enemy clusters everything up together on deployment behind a building or something, then yeah,
you could make.
And you can shunt. You can pay to shunt your librarian, so you just shunt your librarian 9 inches away at any point.
Yep.
Because you're like shunt your librarian.
Yeah, because he's in Terminator armor.
Well, it's not just that. There's also a psychic power.
Okay.
Called Gate of Infinity.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
1 Psyker, 1 unit within 18 inches gets us out of 9 inches away.
Yeah, so you shunt your librarian up front. Yeah. You give him +2 to cast. You give him cast on 3d6, and then you just go, "Hey, take 15 mortal wounds." And then, on return, you kill their 100-point Psyker, but he's got potential to do so much more damage than 100 points.
Libby doesn't even have to cast teleport. Somebody else can teleport.
Oh, yes, someone else teleports him for sure, yeah.
I'll break the full horribleness of this combo down in a minute.
All right.
So,
Gate of Infinity, incredibly powerful.
I'm surprised I didn't rage quit that game, actually, when that happened. Just like
you rage quit it in your dreams every night.
Yeah. That's I mean, their
psychic stuff their psychic shenanigans are very powerful.
Dude, you learned from it. If you face them again, you will be much more armed to fight it than you were that time. So
hopefully.
Anyway. Right, now we need to have a quick beer break. So now we're moving on to some Future Skies.
You drunk all the last one already?
Yeah. This is a Full Circle North beer. It's a citrus IPA, 6% volume. So let's see how this one goes. I'm hoping it's got a little bit more interest than the last one. Colour's not looking promising. It's a bit pale.
You always find beers that look like
urine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try and say in a nice way, yeah.
That's always my theory with wine. If it looks like piss, it will taste like piss.
But it's not your theory with beer?
Well, I don't know.
Fully expect it to taste like piss as well.
That's the point, is I've not had this beer before.
Oh, I went looking for this new Captain Morgan's doing this new kind of rum, which is rum, sliced apple, and cinnamon. I wanted to buy a bottle of that from Tesco's the other night. They didn't have it. Instead, they had Captain Morgan's spiced rum with mango and passion fruit, and I bought a bottle of that instead because that sounded really cool. And I haven't tried it yet.
You haven't tried it? Have you ever tried Winter Jack?
No.
So Winter Jack is a bottle that Jack Daniels do at Christmas, which is almost that, which is like, it's in a white bottle with the Jack Daniels logo, but it's Jack Daniels with apple and cinnamon. I think it's called Winter Jack. It's about half the price because it's about 20% or something. Keep an eye out for that. That's good as well, I guess.
Local pub down the road from me, Christmas normally does a wonderful hot mulled cider over Christmas, and my God, that stuff is lethal. So nice. Anyway.
So it's definitely citrusy. It's got a lot more flavour to it than the Buxton. It's my recommended of the two. It's a little bit sharper. It's still very IPA-y because it is an IPA, and it's just a little bit more. It's got a little bit of a almost grapefruity smell to it. It's quite nice. So I recommended that one.
Excellent.
Probably avoid that one unless you're going for an all-nighter.
And watch Tony drink beer.
Okay, so let's keep going then.
And try really hard not to notice the flecks of froth in his moustache.
That's good, isn't it? Hang on. So I can get a good proper beard.
Oh, God.
I was going to say, when we finally get together and play a game of 40k, we're going to have like a... It's going to have to be every time a model gets killed, someone has to drink some beer or something.
Oh, fucking hell. The only way we're going to have a fun game is if I play against Tony and John sort of stands there with his head in his hands going, why the hell are you doing all this stupid stuff? Because I've been playing Blood Angels every week for the last year and fucking half, 2 years, and got so many more games under your belt than we have. We're going to disappoint you.
Too much build-up. Right, let's move on then. So, Litanies, because there are chaplains. Again, very similar situation. I've just picked out a couple here. On the whole, taking a step back, I'm not sure that chaplains are really worth it for Grey Knights.
They get their own special litanies rather than basic Space Marine litanies, do they?
Yeah, they've got their own litanies.
Okay.
So I've picked out a couple of them here. Words of Power. Each time model within a unit within 6 of this priest, unmodified wound rolls of 6 get an additional wound roll. So you wound an additional time. You don't hit an additional time, you wound an additional time.
And a mortal wound.
And a mortal wound.
Dan, that would stack with the power that says when you wound someone on a
so
6.
Only if you're in Tide of Convergence.
Yeah.
But so you'll gain. So each time you wound your opponent, you get another wound and you get a mortal wound. So if you're hitting with something silly like those 3 damage swords that we talked about with the psychic power earlier, that would mean that theoretically you would do 7 damage per hit.
Unmodified of 6s is going to do an additional mortal wound.
No, an unmodified roll of 6 successfully wounds the target 1 additional time.
Yeah, I know what
and does a mortal wound.
Yeah, so, but Tides of Conversions is active. So if Tides of Conversion is active, that is the one that means, like, on the hit roll, 6s do mortals. So every time you roll a 6, no, this stratagem is saying wound roll, yes, but that Tide of Conversions that you have to be in for this one to make effect is the 6s.
This one works anyway. It's just when it's in Tide of Convergence, it works even better.
Yeah, so basically 6s on hits are doing mortals, 6s on wounds are doing mortals, and 6s on wounds.
That one that did a mortal was on an unmodified roll of 6 to wound. The unmodified roll of 6 to hit was something else that caused an exploding hit.
No, Tides of Conversion says each time this model makes a melee attack with an nemesis weapon, unmodified wound roll of 6.
Yeah, wound roll.
Wound roll. Okay, yeah.
Oh, right, so is this 2 mortal wounds?
That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. So you can do 8 damage with a...
Yeah.
You can do 8 damage in a single...
Capped with Tide of Convergence.
Wow.
But still...
You're more likely to make the cap then. That's fine.
Even if you're not, you can do silly damage with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other one I picked out is Invocation of Focus. Now, this is a nice simple one. Add 1 to psychic tests.
And just going back briefly, you declare the unit affected by that, and then they can fuck off and do their thing. It lasts for the rest of the turn. They don't need to be within them when they make the attack.
Doesn't look like it. Can't see the reason why you would.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry.
So anyway, Invocation of Focus. It only works with blessings, but +1 to cast. Now, remember that you've also got that the tide that means you can all cast your Brotherhood power. All the Brotherhood powers are blessings. Remember, they stack up, get 1 more difficult each time you do it. Cool. This can go some way to kind of counter that a little bit and mean that you're able to get more of those Brotherhood powers off.
Nice.
Which is quite important and can be quite powerful. So it's a situational one, but it could be quite a good one.
Is there any way to give a Grey Knight Chaplain additional movement that is not a deep strike?
You can shunt him with the magic powers.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Because he's a psycho.
Which is still a deep strike. That's fine. Okay. All right. You can't take a Grey Knight in power, a Chaplain in power armor. Chaplains for Grey Knights all have to be
they're all Terminator armor. Same with Librarians.
Right, so they're all slow as fuck. So that's going to be.
You can take the Warlord trait for advance and charge if you want it.
Yeah, it's still a 5-inch move.
Oh no! Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'd be dubious about taking a Grey Knight Chaplain.
I think I'll probably avoid it. The Words of Power combo is hilarious, but I just don't think it's worth bringing a Chaplain just for that.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on then to some data sheets that I think are worth a look. Now, I've picked out 4 here that I particularly like. You can see 2 of them are a bit bigger because I think you're probably going to see these in every game. So the first one is your Interceptors. Now, these are basically your standard infantry, except they've got a 12-inch move.
These are meant to be the best Space Marines in the galaxy who routinely resist demonic corruption, and no Grey Knight has ever fallen to chaos anywhere, ever. And their leadership fucking 7. Really? Fucking bullshit.
He's showing the
leadership has got nothing to do with any of that.
Sorry, what?
He's showing the regular Interceptor, the Sergeant level leadership.
Standard guy's got 8. Your Sergeant's got 8.
Yeah, still a Grey Knight.
Still only 8 though.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry. Moving on.
But you can give them the Nemesis 4 swords. That's a standard thing. You can give them Thunder Hammers. You can give them the Halberd, which I quite like. It's basically your axes from Sanguinary Guard, so it's an extra point of strength, but less 1 AP. I used to run, if I'm honest, Halberds all the way, but since Armour of Contempt, the swords gain a little bit more value with the AP -3 than it used to have.
Agreed.
Fair enough.
So they're just great. There's 26 points a model. If you're paying 4 points to give you basic guy, movement 12, and the teleport keyword.
Are the Falcons, the twin swords, still an option?
Now, they're okay. I don't like them.
Do they give you an extra attack, I assume?
They give you an extra attack.
They're a paired weapon. Drummer only gives you 1 extra attack.
Yeah.
And they're only hitting a strength user.
Strength user, and it's only -2, so it's pretty weak into power armor now, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
So, yeah, I'm not really sold on those. I'm just trying to find this thing. So, yeah, it's only damage 1 as well, whereas everything else is damage 2.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, fuck that noise.
So I'm not really sold on those. I think probably you end up with a mixture of swords, halberds, and hammers.
Okay, cool.
Because they're all great, basically. So the next one is your Grandmaster and Nemesis Dread Knight. He's bonkers. 9-inch move. You can give him the teleporter keyword. He's toughness 6, strength 6, 13 wounds, so he does profile. 2-up armor save. He's absolutely bonkers good. The sword option gives you a strike and a sweep profile, which is always handy.
Yep.
You do pay 15 points for that.
Yeah, you buy it, it's fine.
The other options you can give him are the big hammer.
Yep.
Which is pretty chunky. It's a big hammer. You get -1 to hit, but it's a big hammer. Gives you a lot of damage. Now, one thing I don't like about the sword is the strike profile is D6 damage.
True, but I think there's a lot of play in the sweeping blow there because you get 10.
And I think you'd probably always sweeping blow it, unless you were going to something with -1 damage.
How much damage the sweep is the many attacks one got?
10 attacks, -2, 2 damage, strength 6.
2 damage, okay.
So it's pretty good, but the hammer does speak to me a little bit. Strength ×2, so you're hitting a strength 12, AP -4, D3 +3 damage.
Cool.
And it's cheaper than the sword.
There's a lot of options on these guys. They're really good.
It's 10 points less than the sword.
When they
It's
could,
only 5 points, okay.
I was going to say, when they could run 5 of these guys, it was obnoxious.
Oh, it was bonkers. Because he's so good. They are so good. Their ranged weapons are fantastic as well. So you've got options for ranged weapons. The Gatling Silencer, it's a heavy 12 strength 5 weapon. The Incinerator, 2d6 heavy flamer, slightly better than 2d6 actually, because it's strength 6. The heavy Psy Cannon, which is the one I always take, strength 8, damage 2, AP minus 2, 6 shots.
That's
chunky.
I feel for the points cost. These guys are I think they're better than Redemptor Dreadnoughts, honestly, and they're like 30 points less. So
I mean, if you give it, let's say you give it the sword, because most people like to give it the sword, that's 175 points. Then you give it comes with one gun. Oh, no, it comes with no guns. You've got to buy the guns separately.
To be fair here, this is the Grandmaster version.
It's the same for the standard version, though, except that
weapon skill and ballistic are 3.
Less weapon skill, ballistic skill.
Still 2 up, 4 up in vulnerable save.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it stronger than a Redemptor.
But he is very expensive when you start putting guns on him.
Okay, cool.
I'm just trying to find the cost of the guns.
20 points for the heavy Psy Cannon, 15 for the Flamer, 20 for the Gatling Silencer.
So it's a lot of points. If you want to stick 2 guns, it's another 40 points. So it's 215 points if you give him the sword and 2 guns.
Still do it.
I think the difference is that if this guy charges a Redemptor, he kills it in 1 turn. If the Redemptor charges him, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Fair point. Well made.
So he's very, very good. You're rarely going to see a list without one of these Grandmasters in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd take the Grandmaster and a couple of Dread Knights as well. I haven't made my mind up. They are very, very good.
I would, if it was me.
Yeah.
But I really like some of their other stuff as well.
You never run one of a good thing. You always run more if you can.
I mean, we went through so many ways that you could... These are core as well, so there's just so many strats and abilities that you can...
Well, he is, yeah. But the standard one's cool.
And the fact that, like... Yeah, there's just so many ways you can improve them.
Yeah.
Cool.
So a couple of other ones that I've pulled out is Caldor Drago, who is just a fucking beast. It's absolutely bonkers. He's 180 points.
In case any of you guys watching this don't know this guy's background, so the story behind Super Grandmaster Caldor Drago is that he fought a greater demon, got cursed by it, now lives in the fucking warp, and just spends his time wandering from Chaos Realm to Chaos Realm, fucking up the demons there, who go away and reform later, and just causes shit and can never come back.
He's basically the Doom Slayer.
Except on the rare occasions where he manifests where the Grey Knights are fighting just to help him out. Then he disappears back off into the warp per his curse, so that he can just walk through the warp as like the one non-chaos thing living in the warp forever because he's Caldor fucking Drago.
I've got in my head canon he's hanging out with Lemon Russ.
Oh, there are some amazing memes and animated GIFs and video stories about Caldor Drago being a stupid ass boss. Which, if you want to look them up, there's some.
He is absolutely fantastic. It's 180 points,
crazy.
Which sounds like a lot because his buffs are not bad. You know, he's got Chapter Master rerolls. We like those.
Yeah,
and a 3-up invul because of his old Storm Shield, right?
Yeah,
is that right?
Steal My Thunder. Yes, he's got the 3-up invul.
I'm sorry.
He's about the only thing left that's got a permanent 3-up invul.
He's
also got a damage 3, AP minus 4, strength plus 4 sword. So he hits strength 8, AP minus 4, flat damage 3, with his 6 attacks.
Gilliman's got a 3-up
invuln in return.
Gilliman's about the only other thing that's got a 3-up invuln.
There's an Eldar character that has one as well. One of the many Phoenix Lords has a 3-up invuln.
It's just he's an absolute boss. Absolutely brilliant. The only thing that holds him back is a 5-up move.
Yeah, it's fair.
That's the only thing. And all right, toughness 4, but he's got 3-up invuln.
And if you want to buy him, he comes in fine cast.
Yeah, the model itself is crap.
I was going to say, let's start doing that as we go through these getting started. Be like, right, everything's good, but it comes in flying cast, so it's shit.
I've got a metal Caldor Drago sitting on my shelf up there.
Oh, you lucky bugger.
Yeah. The banner keeps falling off. It's really annoying.
But anyway, so it's an old model. It's not a great model, but
do you want
character?
You want a metal Caldor Drago?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I'll put it on the pile along with this Apocalypse box I've got to give you.
Cheers, man. But yeah, he's brilliant. If you've got the points and you want an absolute beat stick, you can't do much better than this guy. When you think he's cheaper than the Grandmaster and Nemesis Dread Knight,
I mean, your 5-inch move is a problem.
You can teleport,
but
and you can be in Tide of Celerity, so you've got a minimum.
Yeah. And he's a character, so you can character.
Yeah.
Line of sight stuff thing. Look out, sir.
He's pretty tasty. So the last thing I've put on there is your strike squad. Now your strike squads are good. They've all got damage 2 weapons, whatnot. We've all got storm bolters. It's all right, and they've got Space Marine profiles with 3 attacks. What makes them amazing is they're only 22 points a model.
Yeah, they're so cheap. They're so good. There's so many buffs for them.
Points. These are the best Space Marines
in general, but for what you get, I suppose
2 points more than an intercessor. You get a Stormbolter. You get a 5-up shrug against mortal wounds. You get all of those horrible synergies. You get damage 2 power weapons. You get he's a psyker.
Yeah, it's a lot for 2 points per model. To be fair. I think that, like, maybe it's not a problem with strike squads. Maybe it's just a problem with Primaris troops being too expensive. Yeah. I mean, I've been saying for the longest time, tacticals to me, I think tacticals at the moment are 18 points per model. It's like, it's way too much. Like,
drop them to 16 and intercessors to 18.
Yeah, then I'm okay with this.
Well, maybe
but yeah, they're massively undercosted. They're so undercosted that, a little bit of a rant, they're so undercosted that the Terminators no one takes.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, when we talked about it earlier,
because Terminators at 40 points is a very fair cost for that model. It's an excellent troops choice. They're great. You're never going to take them. You're going to take strike squads because they're so horrendously undercosted.
Yeah,
fair enough.
And that's even with how good Terminators are now with Armor of Contempt. Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw the game against Chaos Knights that I had last week, but Andrew unloaded on the Terminators that I have, just 5 Terminators that were in cover. He unloaded like 2 whole Chaos Knights into them. He didn't do a single point of damage, and he had about 50 shots. So Terminators with Armor of Contempt in cover are ridiculously resilient. I mean, I was just saving on Lightning Claw guys as well, not even Storm Shields. But even
all Space Marines are pretty brutal now. I was playing their game the other day, and I was using my Custodes, and I was playing against, well, actually my Blood Angels. And he brought the Libby Dread, and I love the Libby Dread, but the Libby Dread suffers from its lack of invuln. And I put my Galatas into the Libby Dread, and I was bouncing off of its armor. I killed it, but it took me a couple of turns, and I should have been able to do it in one. Because the fact that it's always getting a 5-up save against everything in my army.
Well, that's just
was incredible. It's the same as having a 5-up invuln on everything in your army.
It's just karma for you fighting against Blood Angels, especially your own.
My own Blood Angels.
That's just can't even imagine it.
But yeah, it's so powerful, Armor of Contempt, and now that means that the Contempted Galatas, big sword, angry man, is only able to get on. It's a 4+ against Terminators armor save. That's bonkers. That's really powerful.
I mean, good. Terminator's a badass, and it should be.
Terminators are awesome. I love Terminators. But anyway, so they're the 4 data sheets I picked out. There are other data sheets in there. Castellan Crow's not bad. The special character. He's basically just an Uber company champion. He's really powerful.
He's the one who got a new model in the big box, isn't he?
Yes, an incredible model.
Yeah,
really beautiful model. I've got one. I've got him sitting somewhere as a commission job to do. Because he's such a gorgeous model.
Okay.
Yeah, other things in there. The Librarian, but it's just a Space Marine Librarian. It's why it becomes good is the powers and that it can take.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You know, you've got captains. They're just captains, but you can't make them chapter masters. Terminators, Paladins are pretty good. They're the super Terminators. But I probably wouldn't take them. Because there's too many points. And you don't need them. Because they hit. All right, they've got an extra attack over your strike squad.
Okay.
But strike squads are so cheap.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense to have some variation in the army. So I would think there would be nothing wrong with a squad of paladins, but you're right.
It's the same with the purifiers. Purifiers are cool. They're super strike squads, but there are a lot more points in strike squads. So you're going to take strike squads.
A common winning tactic on tournament lists is pick one element and overwhelm your opponent with it. And just take into that so much. A skew list, essentially.
And this is where we talked about Dread Knights earlier and why I'd probably only run one of them. I think going full infantry horde with these guys could be really difficult to fight.
Would you potentially give up a lot using the secondary of kill points based on wounds?
No, because they're so expensive. Even if you did that, there's still not that many of them.
Fair enough. Are you going to touch on the secondaries?
No.
Okay. I'm given to understand from reading Goonhammer's recent article that Grey Knights have a secondary they can choose from, which they regularly take and regularly score ridiculously highly with. Is that the case? There's a couple of good ones. Psychic action one or something.
Yeah. So the one you're talking about is, if I can find it, it's hiding from me.
It was one of the top highest regular scoring secondaries.
Where is it? It's all right. Just talk amongst yourselves while I dig this out.
Might be able to find it.
I will find it because it's just a weird place and it always annoys me.
Do you know what the name of it? Because I've got them here.
It'll be whichever's in the psychic set.
Warpcraft, Purifying Ritual. Score a number of victory points at the end of the battle round as shown in the table below, with the number of victory points scored depending on how many units from your army successfully completed the following psychic action that battle round. So it's a psychic action called Purifying Ritual. It's a warp charge of 5. In your psychic phase, this action can be performed by any number of units in your army. In your psychic phase, if a Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army is within 3 inches of an objective marker, it can attempt to purifying it by performing the psychic action. Each objective marker cannot be purified more than once in the same turn. And if you purify 1, it's 1 point. 2, it's 2 points. 3, it's 4 points. And if it's 4 plus, it's 6 points.
So if there's a lot of objectives and you can get you guys out there and you don't mind them just doing this action,
you can max this in like two and a half turns. Then you can max
it really quickly if you go with an MSU sort of build.
Yeah.
The other stuff they've got, Purge the Enemy, it's a demon one.
Yeah,
it's not great.
It's fine, but it's not going to happen. You only get 5 points if you kill a demon Primarch.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, you're never going to
take. They've got a teleport assault one, which is
it's the same.
Score 3 victory points at the end of a battle round if one or more enemy units is destroyed by someone teleporting, either by a shunt or deep striking.
Okay.
It's all right. The Warpcraft can be very powerful if you build for it.
Yeah. Which I think you would do, to be fair, because you're all about points and scoring.
Potentially. But they've got so much psychic potential, whether I would give that up, I don't know. If I had lots of strike squads, maybe. Okay, so moving on then. These are my couple of picks. Now, I've picked 3 things here that I think are exciting. So this is my first one, and this is the one that's going to give John PTSD because you start with your librarian. You give him the Gem of a Noctu.
Ah.
You give him the Lawmaster Warlord trait. Now, this one is the one that if you roll 8+, he can't deny it. Now, this does mean you're locked into Wardmasters. So you're going hard down this route if you're going to go for it.
Okay, fair enough.
So if you roll higher than an 8, they can't be denied. You then use Psychic Epitome.
Hey.
This means that you are gaining that extra mortal wound, which is not bad.
Yep.
Vortex of Doom.
Yep.
To do a big blob of damage.
Okay.
That's always nice. So that's my first one. Okay.
Very nice.
That's the one that I suspect blew up John. Because you can cast the second power and do other stuff as well. But that's a pretty nasty combo because it means you're going to get +2 to cast. Your can't be denied if it's on an 8+. It's bonkers. Let's keep going. Now, I've intentionally limited this one because if you're feeling cheeky, you can save something for the next combo. And to do this, you start with an Ancient. You then use Powerful Adept. Now, you could use this on the first guy if you wanted to.
Okay.
To increase the range of his powers.
All right.
They then use the Banner of Refining Flame. Now, this normally only works within 6 inches, but because of the Powerful Adept, it means it works within 12 inches and does a mortal wound, D3 mortal wounds to everyone within 12.
Very nice.
I think that's pretty tasty. So you drop down your first guy, bonk, and you blow something up. And then you drop down the second guy next to him, and you do even more to the same target.
Can the Ancient be given the stuff you gave the Librarian a moment ago?
You could, but the Librarian does it better.
But the Librarian doesn't do the banner. I suppose you just drop them both there. It's fine.
Yeah, it's instead of... If you do psychic actions, you're sort of limited.
Oh, yeah, of course, it replaces psychic powers. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
So you need to run them both, but it's pretty mental, and it's a use for an Ancient. And here's my third one. You start with a character. Now, I've chosen to run a Brother Captain here, and the reason I've chosen to run a Brother Captain here is two, actually. One, the smaller base size, but easier to deep strike in. And two, if I've got Dread Knights, I probably want them on the table because they've got those long-range guns that I want to be firing.
Right.
So you drop down your Brother Captain. You drop down a couple of units. Doesn't matter what, just something spicy. So I've got some Paladins there, and I've got a Strike Squad there. Like I say, doesn't matter. The benefit of Paladins is you can have very small units and get them in lots of them in a small area. Because you can run them in units of 3 if you want.
Okay.
Then you make sure that you are the Blades of Victory.
Is that a Brotherhood?
It's a Brotherhood.
Okay.
Doesn't have a lot of useful stuff, except we'll get to it in a minute. Then you make sure you're in Tide of Escalation, so you can cast your Brotherhood power on every unit.
Okay.
Your Brotherhood power is Inescapable Pursuit. Reroll charges.
Okay.
This is why you're Blades of Victory. You then use Warp Shaping to switch to the Tide of Celerity. So you've got your minimum of a 3 on your roll for charging. You then give that captain first to the fray.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have now is a situation where if your captain charges in on his re-rollable 8-inch charge that has a minimum roll of a 6, everybody else gets a minimum an 8-inch charge with a minimum roll of a 6.
Very nice.
And there's no limit on how many units you can do this with.
When I went into this video, I was thinking one of the ways you want to tech, if you're going to be worried about facing Grey Knights, is take an assassin and then potentially pay some CP to swap it out to a Calexis at the start of the fight, which you might still want to do or not, based on whether or not you want to take an assassin in your list. But frankly, I'm just thinking, just fucking take 3 units of infiltrators as your troops.
Yeah.
You're going to give Grey Knights
incredibly powerful and doesn't even rely too heavily on the psychic power. The psychic power is just to give them reroll charges. Do that with a CP.
Maybe the
on one unit.
Taking so many infiltrators is justified these days.
You've still got a 6-inch minimum charge and an 8-inch charge to make if you get the first guy in. So it's still pretty reliable. But the fact that everyone's got a reroll on it is just bonkers. Because you can do this to loads of units. All right, they've all got to go the same thing, but you can tag loads of stuff.
Cool.
I think that is absolutely bonkers.
Very good, isn't
really
it?
Stuff.
So yeah, they're my top 3 horrible combos.
Go back to the first one where you did Vortex of Doom. Why would you not play Psychic Channeling, which means use this stratagem in your psychic phase. This Psyker, which is doing all these powers here, can now basically... he can do one additional power. He can't do one additional power. You can roll an extra dice and discard one, right? So you're casting all your powers on 3d6 plus 2, discarding one. And then you can also play Mental Focus, letting him cast a third power.
You can? Yeah, absolutely. So you can stack him up, and that's how you make him do all those mortal wounds. Yeah, the only reason I wouldn't do the one for 3d6 is I would probably save it for the other guy.
Yeah, there comes a point where you're stacking too many buffs to cast on something, you get diminishing returns. You might want to save it for something else you want to...
I think it's just the alpha strike of...
that situation.
Yeah, but the alpha strike of both of them doing it...
is enough. Okay.
Is I think, probably worth more than the definitely one guy does it.
Cool. I mean, the one guy alone can easily do like 10 to 15 mortal wounds.
Exactly, but between the two of them, you can wipe out like huge chunk of their like whole screens.
Sure,
I guess you packed in to protect all your stuff. Well, I've just blown up every unit in this area.
Yeah, I just like the fact that Psyker only costs 100 points, so you can throw him away to do 15 mortal wounds. I mean, in most armies, if someone said to you, 100 points and 3 CP to do 15 mortal wounds, would you take it? I think you would, right?
Oh, God. All right.
It's bonkers. And like I say, dropping the both of them down together is just nuts. I don't know that I'd do it, because other than that, the Ancient isn't that useful. But
I suppose
because he's probably going to die, but he can do that every turn. There's nothing says he's got to do that only once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got to kill him.
Wander about throwing out mortal wounds.
They've got to kill him.
Okay, so traditionally, as always, I've made a little getting started list.
Awesome.
So this is my quick 1,000-point getting started list, and now I've started with a Brotherhood Librarian, so we can do our silliness with him.
Right.
And I've given him Vortex of Doom and Warp Shaping. Then I've got a Grandmaster Dread Knight. Now, I've only given him one gun, but I've given him the sword, and I've given him the Sigil of Excellence. Now, I love the Sigil of Excellence because it means that he can redeploy anywhere on the board that's outside of 9 inches when somebody shoots at him.
Yeah, it's very strong.
So, turn 1, somebody shoots at your Grey Knight Grandmaster, and he appears 9 inches away from them.
Cool.
Which is always funny. Or you can drop him into cover or whatever you want to do. I've given him Gate so that he can send a friend. Or send himself somewhere if he feels like it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got a Terminator squad. 2 halberds, 3 swords. Terminators are great. Yes, they're not as good as strike squads. That's why I've got 2 strike squads. And then lastly, I've got 2 interceptor squads, a couple of halberds, a couple of swords, and a hammer in each one. That's 1,000 points. That's a lot of infantry.
So hold on. Whoa. A strike marine is 22 points each.
Yeah, running when units of 5.
And an interceptor is 40 points each?
No, an interceptor. Oh no, sorry, that's wrong. That's so we say 280. I've not changed that.
Okay, cool.
That's right. 1 squad is 240.
Does that still add up, making that change?
Yeah. I shrunk it to get it on the page and stuck them together.
Makes sense.
So it did say interceptor squad 140, interceptor squad 140.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So that's just a typo. So yeah, this I think is quite a nice little starting force. You've got a big wodge of infantry here. You've got 25 infantry in your 1,000-point army. You've got a couple of troops units, 3 of them for taking objectives with your OBSEC. You've got your Brotherhood Terminator squad that you can stick in the middle of the board and not die. And then you've got your 2 really fast-moving interceptor squads that can be bouncing around the board, teleport shunting where they need to be. Your Nemesis Grandmaster is a bit of a troubleshooter, and the Librarian drops down and blows something out of mortal wounds.
So if you've got 20 power armored Grey Knights in there.
Yep.
What are you buying that gives you a spare 5 power armor bodies?
So, total cost from GW is £170. Now, it's a bit cheaper if you use an element link or whatever. And the thing that makes this good because is the fact that you can get away with buying just the combat patrol and 2 boxes of infantry. Because the 1 infantry box builds interceptor, strike squads, and purifiers.
Yeah.
So they come in boxes of 10. You only get 5 in the combat patrol. You end up with 5 spare.
Okay, fair enough.
So you've got 2 boxes of power armored infantry, a combat patrol, and there's your army.
Is the PW website still down?
Someone's on there earlier.
But yeah, so I think that's quite reasonable actually. Yeah, some of the costs we have, you can sell those off if you wanted to, but when you go to 2,000 points, you're probably going to want another 5 infantry.
Yeah, you would. Make one of those strike squads into a 10-man.
Or you make one of the strike squads into a 10-man or something. So £170 with your discount of that, you're probably going to get back for about 130.
Yeah, it's
actually a shockingly not shit combat patrol.
I was going to say that's probably one of the cheapest armies we've looked at. If people are looking to start as well, for 1,000 points for 130.
You can argue that Terminators aren't as good as strike squads, and you'd probably be right. Which means that if you wanted to, you could buy a 120-point strike squad in there and have 80 points to buy upgrades for stuff. Because this is really tight. There's no space for any of the wisdoms of the Prognosticars or extra guns for your Grandmaster. So if you wanted, you could do that and have 5 Terminators sitting around. You can build as Paladins later on.
Nice.
And that's a patrol with 2 HQs, 3 troops, and 2 whatever interceptor squads are. Fast
attack, yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
I thought that was a pretty good start. So, I think, that's it for Grey Knights. Have you got any questions? I think I've been over everything.
Yeah.
How do you beat them at the top table of a tournament?
Screening, John. Screening.
Trays.
What you don't do is leave your whole army open so that he can drop anywhere he likes and kill anything he wants.
Okay, thanks. I'll remember that for next time. If I ever get to the top table again, we'll see.
Dude, you got to the top table at some tournament. That's still an achievement to be proud of.
Yeah.
It's not like we've heard about it before either. It's quite new information.
It is new. Yeah. You better watch out. I got a tournament in 2 weeks' time. Something might go down.
Excellent. Have you finalised what your list is going to be for that year?
I don't have a fucking clue.
Is it going to be Centurions now that Stephen Box has made them cool? Even though you were running Centurions a year ago thinking they were good. And everyone was like, Centurions are rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Just this week, someone...
You did take them to top 3 at a huge 200-plus player international tournament.
No, that's true. But even this week, someone was like, why on earth are you taking a whirlwind? I'm like, see that knight that just charged me that I just did 13 wounds to because I 5 before it fought? That's why. Yeah, okay.
It's a good breakdown. Cheers, Tony.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so...
the Pile of Glory.
Pile of Glory.
And you've spelt glory right. What the hell?
I've spelt glory right. It's mostly out of shame, and I'll show you why in a minute. So let's start off then with me, for a change.
Woohoo!
I didn't paint anything.
But you did make an awesome video.
I did make a video that nobody's watched, but I did make a video.
Well, if you haven't...
Nobody's watched it, because you've had some really positive comments about it.
Yeah, if people have got this far into this video and they haven't checked out Tony's speed painting video, you totally should. And leave him, if there's something you didn't like about it, then leave a comment and tell him what you should improve. Constructive, because, I mean, Tony's got feelings too.
Somewhere. All of my hobby time this week, or this couple of weeks, went on editing that video down and making this PowerPoint.
Yeah, he spent 8 hours making that video, is what he said to me. So, please watch it if you haven't seen already.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I've got a picture of it now, a few months ago now, Mark was painting up his Aeronautica orcs for a tournament.
Yeah.
And he used a paint called Tin Bits, and I said, "You remember I get Tin Bits for years." It's been long out of production. Well, an old friend got in contact with me after that video and said, I've got a pot of tin bits. And these are these are the pots that I got when I got into the hobby.
What kind of tin bits am I using?
And he said, would I like a pot of tin bits? And I
think your tin bits is older than my tin bits.
Oh, almost. This is properly old. These pots would have gone out of production in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
These were the 80s pots, really. And this was when it was made by the company that's now Coat d'Arms.
Yeah.
Before Citadel brought it in-house and started making their own paint.
Awesome. Have you used it for anything yet?
No. But I did test it. It does work beautifully.
What are you going to use it on?
Don't know yet. I have got some orcs sitting here which wouldn't object to it. I've got a Gazcol that needs doing. Nice. So I'm definitely going to find a use for it because it's a beautiful paint. It's got a lovely colour to it.
Very
I probably won't come up on the thing, but it's
very shiny, deep, very glossy finish to it as well.
Yeah, it's a really nice paint. So I'm excited to use that for something, but I don't want to waste it by just like dry brushing something massive or something like that with it.
Awesome.
Okay, so yeah, that's me. I made a video. So next we've got Mark. You haven't painted anything either.
No, I haven't. I've been recovering from extraction pain stuff, which is an excuse I'm only going to be able to use for so much longer. And I ordered one of these from my Warhammer Plus subscription and got delivered and built, and I've base sprayed it, and I'll finish it when I get around to it, which probably won't be for another year or so at this point. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks cool.
It's a stunning model. I'm looking forward to building mine.
I thought that you were supposed to be able to take the assassin off and run it as a separate model somewhere, but apparently you can't. So.
With a base like that, it's kind of like, do not use this in competitive play because everyone can see it from anywhere on the board because it's massive.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd take it in whatever game I was running and use it, plonk it on a corner as a bit of scenery, and it's not part of my army. It's just sitting there looking pretty. Yeah, whatever. Leave it alone.
Yeah, if somebody killed off John's blade guards because they could see a little spiky bit on his Rosarius, you ain't hiding this anywhere.
You're not, but he's a character, so he can benefit from looking out, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something to be said by just not having him on the decorative base, but then that kind of defeats the whole point of it, doesn't it?
But then you might as well just use a normal, I've got the current plastic one. I've got the metal one painted, but I've got the plastic one here. Yeah. You just use that then, if you're going to do that.
Or the old metal one, if you really want to, which is
the old metal one, which is slightly smaller.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's the one I've got, the one that's standing on a skull, and then you've got the other one with the pistol and the gun, sort of.
Yeah, I've got both.
But I don't have that one. I'd like that one. Okay, so beautiful model, worth your subscription to Warhammer Plus.
Yeah, getting that for free off the back of that.
I've still got 3 months.
Warhammer Plus has not been bad. The Angels of Death series was really worth it. Binging it all in once, it was very, very good. The Hammer and Bolter shorts have been really fun to watch. I've thoroughly
some of them I've enjoyed, and some of them I haven't.
Every single one of the Hammer and Bolters, they've been really good. I haven't watched. I haven't watched the Inquisitor Noir one yet because I'm waiting for the whole thing of that to be out so I can binge it all at once.
And there's the Exodite as well, which I need to watch. I haven't watched
Exodite was also really good. Again, binging it all in once, it was great, but it was well worth watching. It was very cool. Just for what happened in the final episode.
Oh, don't tell me. I haven't seen it.
Good. I wasn't going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you the final episode. That's some really cool
stuff. This is not spoilers territory.
I'm not saying spoilers. I mean, it's been out for longer than.
I really need to sit down and watch it.
Spoiler territory now, but no, it's cool.
Wicked. So, moving on again then. John, please tell me you've painted something.
I have been painting, basing and painting bits and pieces of Death Company. I ran Death Company for the first time in about 18 months.
Sanctuary Guard.
Yeah. Well, those guys have been played way too often for how little paint they have on them. So, I mean, they're tournament ready, but they're not acceptable to me. So, with the tournament coming up, I've been basing everything so that I just have the options. I've based a bunch of models that aren't finished, like my Eradicators and stuff, and I'm just working through stuff. I don't know. I can't decide what's good for Blood Angels. A lot of people are obviously moving towards having little to no shooting. in my meta that doesn't work. Drukhari or not, I hate fighting Drukhari if I don't have enough shooting to open up the transports. I hate fighting Death Guard without any shooting. So
if I could offer a small piece of wisdom that I appear to have gathered from what's happened so far, all of the successful Blood Angel lists that we've seen, none of them have been built on accepted wisdom for what makes a good Blood Angel list or not. They've all been based off what the person playing it feels is right at the time and for them.
Yeah, that's probably what makes it even more tricky, right? Because if I feel like if everyone's saying to me like you need to not run Mephiston, you need to not run, and I can understand why you don't want to run Mephiston, right? But like
people saying don't run Centurions. Look what happens with Mr. Box's list. So fucking run what you like, dude. Run what you think is good.
Yeah. So
and then when you do well with it, you go back and say, "Ha, Mephiston's competitive. Suck it."
It would be nice.
When you do badly, you're like, well, I was handicapped because I took Mephiston.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should just win a tournament with Mephiston. I guess the winning part is the bit I need to get down, right? But yeah, I'm having fun, I guess. I'm always having fun. So always painting Blood Angels. Same thing, different day.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's it. That's all we've got for you.
Yeah. Once again, thank you very much for watching. It is always appreciated. If you like what we're doing, if you find it amusing or funny or a laugh or get some value out of it, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Please consider taking a look at our Patreon and chucking us a few quid so we can keep buying interesting shit to give coverage to,
mostly
review, all this sort of stuff.
Because I'm now broke.
And so Tony can buy weird-ass beverages, and if you really want to specify what weird-ass beverages he drinks, then you'll have a grounds to do so to your Patreon. John, say something.
Yeah, no, but everything you said sounded great. And I guess maybe we'll come back in another video where we look at that other army Grey Knight list, right? Seems like it could be.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's do that now. Can we do that now? Let's bang it on the end of this.
I think
John did promise that he would look at this list in this episode, which I thought was a bit cheeky.
I don't know if I promised.
Yeah, definitely did. So, all right, hang on. I'm going to bring this up. So just talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Tony has decided that you promised it, so I guess.
I think they asked me to review it on the Blood Angels channel, and I was like, I am not qualified. I mean, am I even qualified to review Blood Angels lists? I'm no Stephen Box.
You've been doing it for years. If you're not, who is?
True, but yeah, I'm definitely not qualified to look at any other army lists.
Right, hang on. Right. Have I got it?
Dum 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 dum.
Okay, so I've got the list. If I can,
we are absolutely not making a habit of reviewing people's lists that they ask us every single episode, because this going to get fucking crazy if we start doing that. So before you start asking us to review your lists together as a group, do bear in mind we are not making a habit of this.
No, we are putting it, actually, to be honest, as one of our Patreon rewards. So if that is something you want us to do, you have to have a think about that for our thing. Yeah. But because apparently John's going to start saying yes to random people on his streams, we're going to look at it. So what we got here, we've got a patrol detachment. So it's 2,000 point army.
Starts with 7 CP.
Starts with 7 CP, so we spent a lot of CP.
Right.
Rapiers, that's probably the one I'd go with.
Yeah.
What have we got? We've got the Brotherhood librarians. We've got the librarian bomb going on here.
Yeah, it looks like it, with the flame and the vortex.
Yeah.
Fine.
Kaldor Drago, because he's a boss.
Yeah, fine.
Strike squad.
Does Kaldor come with fixed psychic powers, or can you choose his powers?
No, he chooses powers. He comes with a fixed
Warlord Trait, obviously, yeah.
Strike squad. What's he got in the strike squad? All swords.
Oh, of course, because strike squads are troops. They're not bound by the 3...
No,
correct.
Sheet limit, are they? Yeah.
Strike squad's pretty good. An apothecary who can give. He's got the psychic power to give 4 up invulns.
Yeah.
Squad of paladins.
That's a 9-man squad, 8-man squad, something like that. That's crazy.
It's like 8, I think. Yeah.
Is that 8?
A paladin with a hammer, 3 with a halberd, 3 with a sword, and a Paragon with a
That's
hammer.
a big chunk of your army. That is 380 points.
It is.
What we got? 1 hammer,
which is why he's benefited the Apothecary
3 swords, and another hammer.
Yeah.
So 2 hammers, 3 halberds, 3 swords. So that's that's a big punchy unit there. A couple of squads of Inceptors.
110, 1-5. Okay, yeah, cool.
110, 1-5. A Dread Knight and a Strike Squad. So this is second patrol.
Yes.
Yeah. So led by a Grandmaster. He's not giving it any guns.
Not going heavy on the strike.
No, he must have done 235 points. Hang on, here we go. He's given it the Gatling Silencer and the Heavy Side Cannon and a sword. And Servant of the Throne.
Tony, if you go into view in your little text thing and select word wrap, tick that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
there we go. Cool.
It shows how often I'm using Notepad for this. So what's he giving it? He's got a sword, side cannon, silencer, and Servant of the Throne.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a lot of points in one model. That
exigence. Yeah. All right.
That's the one that lets you teleport if you shoot at him.
Yeah.
And a strike squad, and then 2 more Dread Knights, 1 with a teleporter.
Both with silencers and side cannons.
Both with silencers and side cannons. And swords. Okay, so we've got.
And they've all got to be the same Brotherhood, obviously, because
they've all got to be the same Brotherhood. They've all got to be rapiers. They were. He didn't try and change that, did he?
Yeah. Doesn't look like it.
No.
Oh, okay.
All
right. So you got
about that?
3 Dread Knights. You got 2 fast-moving Interceptors. 110, 1-5. You got a big block of Paladins, which I assume would go near the Apothecary and
I'm assuming that he's planning on buffing those up to the fuck levels.
Yeah.
And then
your 2 strike squads are going to almost certainly sit back on objectives because he's got nothing else that's going to sit back on objectives.
He's got nothing with any range support really, except for those Nemesis Dread Knights, and they're busy.
You're spending 110 points to babysit objectives and hope something walks within range of these Stormbolters.
I mean, 20 points range is not the worst thing ever.
You're only wasting 2 strikes.
He hasn't got anything cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only thing cheaper that he's got are.
And if they're babysitting objectives, then they can be doing the psychic action secondaries for points, which is useful. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't like that big blob of Paladins. I think it's too big.
I mean, a big blob works if you have the Apothecary.
Up in one thing. I know it means he can buff them a bit, but you can buff them anyway, and it's just overkill. I think we're better off splitting that into a couple of smaller squads.
I don't know.
Get you a second.
It's a bit of column A, bit of column B. By having it all as one unit, it's easier to buff one unit with everything.
But it doesn't need
to buff
everything.
2 or 3
it's
units.
So powerful anyway. And the only thing really that he's got that you can't put on 2 units is Sanctuary for a 4-up invuln.
Which they don't need.
Yeah, the other stuff, if you're in the right tide, you can do, like we saw earlier, you can switch tides and that, so they can cast their Brotherhood power to get the extra hits in, if they particularly need it. But, even 4 Paladins with a Demon Hammer in there, that's going to murderify anything it hits.
So your forward attacking is your 2 Interceptors, your 3 Dread Knights.
So if it was me, I'd split one of those Interceptors into 2 squads, that big one, and have the 5-man squads.
Why, you can combat squad it. Fucking keep it as 10. Combat squad it if you want to combat squad it. That's not a problem.
Well, you lose an attack.
So? Yeah. You have the flexibility of being able to run it as 10 or 5. That's much that's worth 1 attack.
Maybe. But yeah, I think the Paladin's too big. What else have we got going on here? Actually, can I make this bigger? Other than that, we've got the Nasty Librarian, Caldor Drago as a boss. That's a lot of Nemesis Dread Knight. And a lot of points in Nemesis Dread Knight.
So your attacking force is the slow brick of Paladins, Drago, and Apothecary. And then you've got fast-moving 3 Dread Knights and 2 or 3 Interceptor units to move forward and attack things.
I wonder if the reason he's gone with the Mega Paladin block because we used to see this a lot in 8th, didn't we? The kind of paladin blob. Is because Drago can only give full rerolls to one squad.
That's exactly what I was just saying. Keep them as one squad. They're easy to buff.
But I don't think they need it. I just think you get more value out of 2 and being able to charge 2 units. Because they hit so hard, they just don't need to be buffed more.
But buffing something that's already really powerful and strong makes it incredibly scary.
It does, but doing like 500 damage to a unit that only takes 100 damage is just not necessary.
It doesn't matter. You're affecting your opponent's
massive
play
overkill.
It's not necessarily about what you can kill and what you can survive. It's also about making your opponent play around the scary unit of death.
It's too big. You've got no flexibility in that one.
I think that's a question.
You can shunt them, dude. There's the
quality of list.
You can't shunt them because they don't have the teleport keyword. You can, and he hasn't brought the psychic power that lets you teleport anything anywhere.
Gate. Yeah, yes.
Oh, he has. He's got gate on Drago. He's got gate.
Then there's no problem with that paladin squad. Then
I just bring 2 and drop them in because they've got no ranged output to speak of.
I appreciate your criticism. I disagree with it. Why has he only got 7 CP? He's got he started with 12. One patrol is free. The other one costs 2, so he's starting with 10. So he spent 3 CP somewhere.
Yeah, so he's got multiple. He's bought the Warlord trait for the Librarian Kaldor. He's got the free one on the Grandmaster, but then he's spelled.
The Grandmaster Dreadnought is a Warlord. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a Warlord or whatever, but he is a
Warlord. He's a Warlord.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah.
Okay, well, there's an example 2,000 point Grey Knights list.
Yep. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd be worried about fighting that.
I think he's got too many points spent in Paladins.
If you can run around the Paladins and play around them and ignore them a little bit.
It's a quarter of his army nearly in that squad.
And if you gate them, then they're less able to be buffed and synergized by the Apothecary and Drago because they'd be gated away from them. So that's a potential problem.
You could gate them to him.
He's got gate as well, so he's got 2 gate casters.
Yeah, but you can only cast it once in a turn. And he hasn't got the... Yeah, I'd move the teleporter onto the Grandmaster because I don't think that's got it.
No,
yeah, he's put it on the Dreadnoughts, but not on the Grandmaster. I'll put it on the Grandmaster because then you can teleport shunt the Grandmaster to get him up there.
Yeah, I can. That makes sense to me.
I'd rather he got in rather than one of the basic Dread Knights.
Yeah, I can see that. It'd be interesting to know the reasoning behind why the Grandmaster does not have a teleporter, but one of the Dread Knights does. So
I don't think it would hurt.
This, then please comment and let us know why you made that decision. That'd be nice to know.
I don't think it would hurt to swap out the Nemesis. In fact, if he swapped out the 2 Nemesis Greatswords on the Dread Knights for the hammers, he'd save enough points to give the other one a teleporter. Or just have 10 points spare.
Personally, I like the flexibility of the Greatswords.
Yeah, I do like it, but I just hate D6 damage. I don't think he'd ever use it. I think he'd always use the flat damage 2-1 and double attacks.
Well, 5 attacks. Hitting at like strength 10, is it not? D6 damage?
Well,
D6 damage is variable. 5d6 damage is a lot less variable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't see the problem.
10 flat damage 2 is pretty nice too.
Yeah.
But 5d3 plus 3 is a lot better than 5d6.
Still rather have the option.
Mm.
Which is why it's 10 points more expensive than a hammer.
Which is why it's more expensive. Okay, so yeah, we have had a look at your list. That's what we reckon. We're not going to agree on this one. But then what did you expect? If you thought we were going to all agree on that one, you were sorely disappointed. John, have you got any comments?
I don't know enough about Grey Knights to really... I fought them once.
There you go. John is worthless.
John, would you like to face this army?
I mean, I think Grey Knights suffered a lot from the Armour of Contempt changes because their Dread Knights lost a lot of their killing power. They used to be -1 and -2. Now they're basically minus nothing,
all
-1.
Of the guns on these guys, the Gatling Silence is only AP -1.
Yeah, so no AP.
Nothing. 12 shots at strength 5. That's all right. Strength 5 or strength 6? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And the Psy Cannons lost a lot of their killing power as well.
At the same point, they gain Armour of Contempt, so
no, they don't.
Take away.
I mean, I think they're hard enough to kill.
Well, they were excluded from Armour of Contempt.
No, they weren't.
Dread Knights were, yes, but Grey Knights in general.
Oh, sure, yeah. The Dread Knights don't have the right.
So those guns, you're paying, like for example, on that Dread Knight at the bottom there, you're paying 40 points for guns. One of them's AP nothing, 12 shots, essentially into a Space Marines, and the other one's AP -1, damage 2, 3 shots for 20 points.
If you have stuff in cover, though, you can quickly make that like 2s or 3s, and yeah. I mean, their mortal, the amount of mortals they put out is a problem. Their speed can be a problem. Their durability can be a problem, but their ranged firepower, I guess, is taking a big
Dread
hit.
Knights have taken a big hit, to be honest. I think I would rather run shitloads of strike squads and leave the Dread Knights at home.
Yeah, I think there is some value in having diversity.
I just think that the Dread Knight is so expensive and its guns are so useless into things with armor.
But then it's good against other factions, and you can't can't build a tailored list. You can't build a tailored list.
Is it that good? 12. Oh, it's all right.
I mean, into orcs or something.
Let's face it. Space Marines are not
right.
winning tournaments at the moment.
No, but it's going to do.
They're populous, but
it'll do fuck all into custodes. It's going to do. It's probably quite good for killing Quins.
Yeah. Good at opening transports as well.
It's going to do fuck all into Tyranids. The big beasties, the little ones, yeah, sure, shred those, but the big beasties aren't going to give a shit.
That's cute on charge and hit them in melee.
I still think that into non-marine factions, the Dread Knights are better than Redemptors, and they're the same cost.
Oh, yeah, probably.
They can also smite.
Yeah,
they can also smite, and I wonder if that's the way to go. Lean heavily more into the psychic-y, smitey strike squads, because you can get a couple of strike teams for that, or a 10-man strike squad. You can give all of them damage 3 weapons for not that much faff.
Yeah.
For the same kind of points?
Maybe.
And I think it's more flexible. You can also do the actions. You can do that crazy one to get all the secondary points.
I think it's a question of play style, not the list is objectively better or worse because of it.
No. But we're not Grey Knights experts.
Yeah. Oh, God, no. No,
I'm sure if you went into a proper Grey Knights channel, they could give you a bit of a better rundown. But yeah, I think the Paladin blob's too big. It doesn't need to be that big. Save a few points there. And maybe too many Dread Knights in the current game. 6 months ago, before Armour of Contempt, then sure. But I think now I'd lean more into infantry. Especially against Nids.
The Paladin squad is scary, but the downside is, if you can neuter it or ignore it or tie it up, then...
It's too many points in one squad. I'd rather have more than one thing that's really scary and threatening. All right, you've got 2 because you've got Kaldor Drago, but you know what I mean with that.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much.
So there's that. All right. John, you made any more promises for us to keep?
I don't
or for Tony to interpret that you've made us promises just so we can keep ribbing you about them throughout the whole of the next few episodes?
Sure. We'll dig out a comment on Discord where you've promised something, Tony, from a year ago and see if you can find something. But no, I don't have anything. All right.
So back to the point then. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't seen it, check out some of our other videos. Like, subscribe, send us a comment, tell us what we've done right, tell us what we've done wrong. If you are actually the Super Grey Knights expert, tell us what combos we have missed. Join our Patreon if you want to tell us what to do.
We have no idea what the fuck we're going to do for next episode. No, we don't. Well, we do have plans for next
We've got plans. We've planned out for the next 3
calendar,
And the next one's is a Patreon request.
What was the next one? I've forgotten already.
I'm not telling you because it's supposed to be a secret for the audience.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, it's a secret.
We
Cool.
will not tell you. We do, in fact, have a plan and we know vaguely what we're doing, but we're not going to tell you.
Yeah. And also, we're not sure when Chapter Approved is going to drop.
Yeah, I remember what the next one's going to be. Yeah, the Patreon request.
We're super excited about the next one.
So we have told people what it's going to be, but you may or may not know.
Awesome.
So, see you next time. Cheers.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.